We're going to spend some time looking at the ankle pick, Kibisugaeshi. This, in my opinion, is one of the absolute most effective takedowns in all of jiu-jitsu. One of the chief advantages of ankle picking is it never puts you in exposed positions where your opponent can put his weight on top of you. It creates situations where you can easily draw a leg together and put your opponent down, attacking either leg. The most common form of ankle picks involve attacking the outside of my opponent's ankle, just like so. Making sure that our hand comes all the way down so our pinky knuckle is on the back of our training partner's Achilles tendon. Don't grab on the calf muscle, don't grab the pants. Make sure we come down and trap all the way so your pinky knuckle is almost touching the floor. A key element in any ankle pick of any kind is the idea of putting your opponent's head over his foot. If his head is over the opposite foot and you're trying to ankle pick here, you're never going to score. The whole idea is to bring his head over his ankle, and it's that which creates a situation where I can pull. The direction of the pull is typically in the direction the toes are pointing. Okay, that creates the least friction with the mat and creates a good knockdown to the floor. Okay, so the main points I want you guys focusing on mechanically will be the idea of taking your opponent's head over the foot that you wish to attack, making sure we go all the way to the heel, not here, not here, not the pants. Grab down here, and then pull in the direction the toes are pointing. Okay, you're going to need what we call a drive leg. A drive leg is a leg behind me, like so, which enables me to drive off the mat. As we hit, the drive leg will come forward and the second leg will come up and form a shelving effect. If my opponent goes to stand up from here, his leg's on a shelf. The only way you can do it is to step over my body, and that'll create back exposure and an exposed leg where we can put our opponent down. Okay. Now, those are some of the key mechanical points. Now let's start to look at some of the key tactical points. When we go to hit an ankle pick, you'll have a shot hand that goes for his heel, and you'll have a shot leg that puts you in a position to score. They are always the same side. What I don't want to do is have the wrong leg forward. Then you get extended in weak positions. I always want my shot leg here and my hand to be the same. That's what puts him in a vulnerable position to be taken down to the mat. So let's have a look at this in operation now. Okay, we're going to start off right versus right, IL2 situation. He comes out and makes grips. I go through and I get a hold of my training partner's grip like so. I put my hand on, he puts his hand on. So we're neutral. From here, I snap his grip off. Then I start dancing. When I dance, I'm currently right side forward. I need to switch to get my shot hand and my shot foot on the same side. There it is. Now I lower my level and I replace my foot with my knee. As a result, I have a drive leg behind me. I pull the heel in the direction the toes are pointing. I switch knees and bring my second knee up. I take my hand back so there's no armbar finish that can upset me at the end. My hand comes back. Now, if he stays on his back, congratulations, he scored a takedown. If he desperately tries to come up to a hand and heist over the top, you're going to come up in a situation where you've got back exposure ready to score. Okay? Most of the time in beginner level jiu-jitsu, they just accept the takedown and you'll score pretty easily. So, right versus right situation. I come in, I get my initial grip. From here, I put my second hand on, snap his grip off. If I didn't snap the grip off and he stiff arms me, then I'll never get to the heel. So I need to take that power hand off. I snap it, I bring it across the body, and I start to circle. I switch my stance, I bring his head over the top, and we catch. Now I just pull and pick. My hand comes up, he goes to stand with me, and I'm standing over his body. Okay? Making it very hard for him to get away. Right versus right. He comes in, makes a grip. I get my grip. As we dance in this position, I go through, snap his grip off. Now I start the action of rotating. My body comes down, and we put come in straight down to the floor. One more time. Right versus right. Hand goes in, secures an initial grip. As we play, second hand goes on, snap the grip off, switch our stance, everything comes down to the floor, and we secured a 2-point takedown. Now, one of the best ways for us to score is out of a cross grip. My opponent comes in, gets his grip. I go through, I get my own grip. I go in, I secure a cross grip on my training partner, pop his grip off. Now from here, I step and switch. And as a result, we're in perfect position to come straight down to the same position we saw earlier. I come down, catch, and put my opponent down to the floor. Okay? So once again, cross gripping this time. He comes out right. I come through, secure my grip. I come up, take a cross grip. I snap his grip off. Now from here, I pull and switch my stance. Body switches. We're in perfect position to go. My foot is replaced by my knee. And as a result, it's an easy thing for us to bring our two knees together and come up into a score. One more time. Right versus right. Cuff grip. Cross grip. Snap his grip off. Move. Pull. From here, catch. Pulling in the direction the toes are pointing. And down to the mat we go. Very, very effective way of operating. This time, working for my opponent's sleeve cuffs. He comes out right, grips. From here, I go through, I get a hold of my training partner's sleeve cuff. I offer him the sleeve. So he's got two grips on me. I've got to operate quickly here because he's got a very good grip on me. I come around the corner and I put two hands on my training partner. So I have two grips, 4-finger style. Now, as he goes to pull me around, I snap his grips off. Okay? So once again, he comes out, gets grips. I immediately go in and secure. He gets grips, I go through and around, and I get double cuffs. He goes to pull me, and I just take his hands off. Now from this situation, I start dancing and pulling. I bring this cuff all the way through and knock my opponent down to the floor. So once again, he comes out, gets grips. If he starts dancing, it's a problem. So immediately, I come over the top and get my grips. Now, I offer a hand, I go over the top, he goes to dance, snap the grips away. Now I dance. I'm in perfect position, even if his leg's backing away from me, to go straight through, pushing everything over. Now he's going to go to his hand. I just pull and bring everything up to complete. So once again, backing away, bring over stance. From here, even from Jigotai, he goes to snap me down, I just take the hands off. Now, I start the idea of circling and pulling. I drive across the body. Look how I push the hand in. Puts weight on the foot, makes for an easy pick and finish. Very useful from cuff situations. Now, an inside ankle pick is a very different kettle of fish, but has some important similarities also. In an inside ankle pick, again, I go forward, but my shot leg and my shot hand will be different. Okay? Again, I do put his head over his leg, and again, I do go all the way down to the bottom, not grabbing the pants or the calf muscle, but grabbing the Achilles tendon, and I pull in the same direction the toes are pointing to knock my man down. Also very, very effective. So right versus right. He comes out, gets grips. I go through, get my own grips. From here, we snap everything off. I start dancing. He goes to turn and face me. My second hand goes on. Now I go to expose his rear leg. I'm in perfect position now to shoot, reach, and catch all the way down by the heel. And as a result, we get a perfect pick down to the mat. So once again, right versus right. He goes in and makes grips. I go through, snap his grip off, get my angle, perfect position to drive everything through, bring his head over his foot, and pick for a nice finish. It's a beautiful, highly effective takedown. He goes through, snap, angle, commit, everything down to the floor. Same thing, if we both have the same grip on each other, neutral grips. Snap, circle, everything down to the floor, and Kibisugaeshi for the finish. Now in Jiu-Jitsu, many of our opponents stand in exaggerated bent over stances. Like so, facing me, looking at me, like so, okay? From here, reaching to the rear deltoid is a great option. When my hands dig in to my training partner, if he doesn't connect to me, I dance, pull his hands to the mat. So what they all do is connect. When we see that, we dance and bring his foot close to us. Now I come down, I bring his head over his foot, and as a result, we're in perfect position to come all the way down to the heel, pull, and put that man down to the mat. So once again, exaggerated jigotai, defensive posture. I fake the hands. He pulls the hands back and leaves me the shoulder. He connects. I dance. Now I drive in, ankle pick, and finish. From another angle, exaggerated defensive stance. I fake hands. He pulls hands away from me, leaves me the shoulder. I put 4 fingers in and grip. I bring his foot to me by dancing. Cross ankle pick. Everything goes down here. So his head is right over the ankle. Now I come in, pick, for a beautiful finish. Looking at this in a competition setting, it's a very quick, very robust way of operating. If we want to maximize our effectiveness with ankle picks, it's absolutely critical that you learn to combine inside picks and outside picks. So for example, right versus right situation. He comes out and makes grips. I go through, I make my grips. From here, I circle, pull. As I dance and switch my stance, let's come here so you can see the camera. As I switch my stance and come down, very often your opponent will step back, so you lose the foot. Don't give up. Just bring your second knee forward and make a switch from outside pick to inside pick. This is a beautiful and highly effective combination. So from situations where he comes out and grips, I grip up, I snap his grip off. I set up my body, switching stance. As I come down, he steps back. I go across the other side and fire. You'll notice I switch knees to be able to hit this move. Initially, I come down left knee. He steps back. I go across right knee. So I have a new drive leg to put him down. Once again, right versus right situation. I go in, secure my grip. I bring second hand on. We now have a neutral grip. I've got sleeve lapel, he's got sleeve lapel. We want dominance, not neutrality. I snap it away. I move and dance. He steps his leg back and leaves me the second leg to pick. You can often make use of this. Right versus right. I snap the grips. He steps back, leaves me the leg I really wanted, and there's my takedown. A beautiful and easy combination. Every variation of Kibisugaeshi, the ankle pick we've looked at so far, involved me making contact with my opponent, either lapel, rear deltoid, cross grip, or cuff. But understand you can hit very effective Kibisugaeshis with no hand on your opponent. Rather, your hand will be on the floor. This is particularly useful in Kenkyotsu situations where your opponent is in an exaggerated bent over stance. This is so common in the sport of Jiu-Jitsu because many of your opponents are very interested just in pulling guard on you. Now, the rules of jiu-jitsu clearly stipulate that if we come to grips, my opponent can sit to guard immediately, okay? So let's say you're facing someone who you believe their intention is to pull guard, okay? You believe that the moment you come to grips with them, they're just gonna sit down on you. Under these circumstances, you might be reluctant to put a hand on your opponent because now he can sit whenever he chooses. In these situations, I read my opponent and I see he's fighting lefty. So I'm gonna match up righty against him, just like so, and I maintain distance. I match my head with his head. And then right from here, I come down and I use the floor as a post. I just come in and I catch. Now this is not a low single leg. I am not coming in and making contact with my training partner's knee with my head or shoulder. We are staying at distance here. And we're going to use the floor post to pick our training partner's knee, like so. Okay. Now sometimes they'll fall if they're clumsy, but most of the time they're going to balance and you'll come up with one leg and end up in a kind of a single leg type situation. Please understand that you can post with either hand. Sometimes it'll be an inside pick and sometimes it'll be an outside pick. That's up to you. They're both highly effective variations. Okay. So let's have a look at this again. We're matched up with an opponent. And from here, we start our reading process where I use the initial period before we get grips to read my opponent. In this position, your opponent can only shoot your legs or pull guard. He cannot engage in a strong grip fighting battle. He's so bent over that he can't even grab my lapels. Okay, so reading him in this position, I already know what his intention is just based on his stance. He can't stand up and throw me, not from that position. He can only shoot to my legs or pull guard. So you know ahead of time what his strategy is, just based on observation. From here, I match up my head level with his. If he touches me, he can pull guard. Okay? So I make sure that I play the distance game. As I come out, if I see him reaching for me, I'll move away. I'll move away. I find the center of the mat, and then in one motion, I come in and catch. I could come from the outside, or I could come from the inside. They're both excellent. Now all I do is I give a good pull in the same direction the toes are pointing. Sometimes they'll fall, sometimes they'll find their balance, and you'll come up into a situation where you have the single leg. And from here, there's many ways that you can operate to put people down. So once again, an ankle pick with no hands on my opponent. My hand posts to the floor instead of him. Okay? So we come out towards our opponent. I read him. He's fighting lefty, so I come up righty. Now from here, distance, and now I make my shot. I come in, catch. Right from the catch, I give a pull. I look at his toes. If his toes are pointed to my inside, I'm going to pull inside grip. If his toes are pointed outside my body, I'm going to go outside grip. If I mess this up, it's hard to pull and he can kick out in this direction. Okay? So the rule of thumb, let's come closer to the camera. Facing me. Okay. If my opponent's toes point inside my body, I'm going to go inside pick so that I can get a good pull on my opponent's foot. If his toes point outside my body, I'm going to go outside pick so that I can get a good pull from this position. Okay, so that's the rule of thumb here. Stance. I'm reading him. From here, I can see I'm lined up with his toes to the inside. So I come down, catch. I give a good pull that brings him into me. I stand up tall with the leg. From here, I put him down. If on the other hand, he's got a more open stance, I come in, I come down, I make my shot, catch. From here, I give a good pull, and I come up to my feet. From here, so many ways for us to operate. Okay? Now, what I'm going to urge you to do is this. When you make your shot, your two hands should land simultaneously. Don't go 1, 2, 1, 2. It goes like this. Simultaneous. Only then can you make good contact. If I come down like this, it's so easy for my opponent to get away. I want a simultaneous grab for the floor and the ankle. He goes to yank away, gives me the leg. I get him moving, step, and down we go. Again, we come out towards our opponent. Low stance. He makes a grip for me. I play distance. I know what he wants to do. He wants to pull guard. I play distance. He reaches. Catch. He switches his stance. Now I need to switch my stance. From here, straight in, catch. Now a good pull. It takes the leg up, creates a situation where we can go in. He's lefty. I line up righty. I draw him. Level change. Catch. From here, and away we go. Very effective before we make grips. As we said earlier in this video, the basic concept behind this volume 1 of the Feet to Floor series is to take someone who's not particularly well schooled in the standing position and get them confident enough to take down someone their own size and their own skill level within 3 to 6 months. I think that's a very, very doable goal. Now that's going to require that we put most of our focus on relatively simple forms of takedown in the standing position, and avoid the more complex ones, which are more long-term projects for you. The two takedowns that I want you as developing students in the standing position to work on first will be collar drags and ankle picks. It's my belief that these are not only highly effective and very appropriate for the special conditions of the sport of jiu-jitsu, but most developing students can pick them up in considerably less time than they could more complex throws, such as a hopping uchimata or harai goshi or something like this, where the learning curve tends to be, it's just definitely going to take you more time to gain competency in techniques like that than it will for these relatively simple moves. A big part of why I favor the ankle pick, which we're going to look at now, is because it's so peculiarly well suited to the sport of jiu-jitsu. Let's go further into this now and understand the first reason why I put such a heavy emphasis on ankle pick training as your first area of competency in a standing position. One is because the ankle pick has so much overlap between standing positions and ground positions. Most jiu-jitsu players spend 99% of their training time on the floor. So any takedown which you can use both on the floor and standing is going to be a lot easier for most jiu-jitsu players to learn. They're familiar with the move already on the ground. They use it in daily training on the ground all the time. So it's not asking a lot to translate a move they're already performing successfully on the floor, go to the standing position, add some grip fighting, some stance, some motion, and then get it to work in the standing position. Okay, if you're already very good at ankle picking on the ground, it's going to be pretty easy for you to adapt it to the standing position, as opposed to something like drop seoi-nage, which you rarely use in ground situations, if ever. That's like a whole new skill that you have to learn. You guys are all familiar with the idea from previous videos that we've made in the in our jiu-jitsu instructionals of ankle picking when we're down on the mat. So if we have an opponent who's interested in guard passing, for example, and we're hand fighting, he's coming down to play hands, and we come up and we snatch a hold of our training partner's collar. In situations like this, it's quite common for us to go straight on through, catch our training partner at the heel, and perform the move as a sweep from guard, as a reversal. Okay, if the guy's got a knee on the floor and a foot up, for example, this is a common situation in jiu-jitsu, and again, we're hand fighting, and we get a hold of our training partner's lapel, and just right from here, we go through, pick, and draw our man down and put him down to the floor. Even if Giancarlo's on two knees and I'm in a seated position and I'm interested in a sumigeshi in this direction, he puts a foot out for base, it's an easy thing for us to hit ankle picks, even from seated positions, and put that man down. So these are all moves that we commonly use in ground situations, and exactly the same techniques, just with minimum modifications, can be used in the standing position. Once we get up to standing, we have an opponent in front of us, and we're able to get a hold of a lapel, for example, then right from here, it's the same move done in a standing position, and as a result, we put him down to the floor. It's not asking a lot for a developing student who's already familiar with ankle picks on the floor to adapt them to the standing situation. All you would need to do is add in the idea of motion, stance, and gripping skills. So if we come out and from a situation like this, start using those gripping skills that we saw, taking a man out of balance and coming through into our attacks, it's a simple modification for a move that you're already doing. So this is the first reason why I favor ankle picks as one of the first standing skills that you ought to develop. There's so much overlap between ankle picks on the ground and standing that it's pretty easy for most jiu-jitsu students to take advantage of that overlap and adapt a move they're already performing and using in live sparring, and make a few small modifications and make it work standing. Now, a second reason why I strongly favor the ankle pick for developing students when they're first starting to work in the standing game is because out of all the various takedowns in jiu-jitsu, the ankle pick is probably one of the best examples of a move which has a very great correlation between the amount of risk taken when you perform the move and the potential rewards. This is a classic example of a move which has great rewards if it's done well and relatively low risk. Okay, there are many takedowns in jiu-jitsu where, and grappling in general, where if the move doesn't work, you're in hot water. Okay, say for example a double leg. If I get in on Giancarlo's legs and get into a situation where he successfully sprawls on me, you're caught underneath his body weight. You get overextended here, he goes behind you, and now he's scored. Okay, your takedown ends up with you getting scored on. You can see what went wrong there. If I didn't do a good job of managing his body weight when I get into the scoring position, you end up getting scored on. Yes, the double leg is a fine move, and done well, it's a great point scorer. But done poorly, there's considerable risk with its use. Another example would be drop seoi-nage. Perhaps even more risky, okay? If I go into any form of seoi-nage and expose my back to my opponent, this is potentially a very, very bad position indeed. Okay, here I'm in a situation where if my takedown fails, we're in the first 10 seconds of the match, I went for my takedown, my opponent's on my back in a scoring position, he might score 4 points here, and now I've got to dig myself out of that grave. I got 9.5 minutes to work with a guy started on my back who specializes in attacking from that position. That's a terrible start. Now that's not to say drop seoi-nage is not a fine move if done well, but let's understand that it's a move with high potential reward, but also very high risk. Okay. The great thing about ankle picks is when they're done, they have a tremendous scoring potential. They really are a high percentage way of scoring. And when they're done poorly, there's not really a lot of downside to them. They're pretty safe. The reason for this is simple. When you hit ankle picks, you don't get your body caught underneath his body weight. Okay. If I'm on a single leg and it fails, and he puts his body weight down underneath me, I'm caught underneath Giancarlo's body weight. Now, don't get me wrong, there's things you can do here, but at the end of the day, you're underneath a talented opponent's body weight. That's never a pleasant experience. Now, contrast this with an ankle pick. In the case of an ankle pick, as we go out with our training partner, if it all goes wrong and Giancarlo steps back in a way, my body's not underneath his. Okay, so sure, I failed, but it didn't really cost me anything. Okay, there's nothing now to stop me coming back up to my feet and just resuming the battle. Okay, so one of the beauties of the ankle pick is, first, I never get caught underneath my opponent's body weight. Okay, second, there's never any back exposure. When we go to perform any one of the various ankle picks that we work with, at no point is my back exposed to my opponent. I'm always facing my opponent. So if I lose the leg and he steps out, I'm facing him. okay? As opposed to, say, for example, drop Seoinage, where I come in and from here, oh no, it's all gone to hell, okay? So that's one of the reasons why I strongly favor the idea of the ankle pick as one of your first takedown skills that you want to work on. The potential reward is very high. It's a very high percentage successful takedown in competition. And when you screw it up, nothing really bad happens. You don't get caught underneath your opponent's body weight, and you don't expose your back to your opponent. So you can do it with confidence. One of my biggest problems as a coach, when I'm coaching standing position, is that students naturally tend to become gun shy when it's time to shoot on an opponent and get to score points whenever they start failing. And let's be honest, in jiu-jitsu, when you first start out, most of the time when you try moves, you fail. Okay, you're a beginner, it's natural. And when you fail on a single leg, you get punished for it, okay? He gets a good heavy sprawl on me here, and it's like, oh my God, I'm digging myself out of this grave, and he's going behind me and scoring. He's getting to a clock strangle. I'm getting attacked, and you know, you have 3 or 4 failures like that in a row, and pretty soon your confidence goes down, and you're going to stop shooting. It's just human nature. No one likes to shoot when 4 out of 5 shots result in you getting finished, okay? What I find is that students have a lot of confidence working with ankle picks because when they don't work, nothing bad happens. So they keep trying and shooting, and they don't have that terrible effect of losing confidence the way they often do with single legs or drop Seoinage, where every time they do the move and it doesn't work, they get punished severely, okay? If we get someone who starts off with ankle picking, and Giancarlo's got fast feet, and when I try, I miss, okay? Nothing bad happens, okay? I come back up to my feet, I try again, and he steps off. Nothing really bad happens, okay? As opposed to double leg, it doesn't work. It's like, oh my God. Now, my attempt at a score ends up with me getting scored on, or even worse, finished. So that's another reason why I strongly favor the ankle pick as one of your first foundational takedowns. A lot of potential reward and very little risk. Now, another reason why I strongly favor the ankle pick as one of your first takedowns to hit is because it's incredibly well suited to the most common stance in jiu-jitsu. Okay, when you look at international judo, you're struck by the fact that typically the stances tend to be relatively upright, with a lot of motion on the part of the two training partners working like so. There's a reason for that, because in the sport of judo, they're looking for upright movement leading to ippon throws. Okay, and that typically requires a lot of movement skills. People move at their best when they are in natural postures, okay? The so-called Shizentai, which enables them to move chest up, shoulders in good position, and gives excellent mobility around the mat, okay? In jiu-jitsu, what we typically find is people tend to stand in much more conservative, bent-over jigotai, or defensive postures, where people come out like so, okay? There's a reason for this. If I stand upright in a jiu-jitsu match, my hips are exposed to Giancarlo. And at any time, he can jump to guard position on me. He's not going to do that because he knows I have a hip replacement and it'll probably break if he tries it. But the idea is, can you hold my weight, Giancarlo? The idea is that if I can see Giancarlo's belt, there's no reason why I can't just jump into my training partner's hips, okay? So many jiu-jitsu players are reluctant to expose their hips. So they stand like so. So now I can't jump to a closed guard on my training partner. It's physically impossible because Giancarlo's hands and chest and head are in my way. So typically the stances tend to be the head that's the same height as the hips, okay? And people tend to move in much more conservative stances like so. If Giancarlo grabs any part of my jacket, he can sit the guard immediately, okay? So often the pattern in jiu-jitsu is one where they play a distance game, where they refuse to allow grips, and they play distance like so, okay? Now from here, we can't jump guard on each other, can't hit a flying guard pull, and if I see him reaching for my jacket, I can play a distance game and prevent him from even pulling guard until he gets a grip on me. So that tends to be the more common guard stance in jiu-jitsu. Many of the classic throws of judo can be a little difficult to work under these circumstances, okay? Again, if he comes out in a very defensive stance and I play upright, Giancarlo just shoots my leg. It's like, oh my God, I got punished for my upright stance. I wouldn't have to worry about that in judo because leg grabs are illegal, okay? But in jiu-jitsu, they're fully legal. Even if Giancarlo didn't like the double leg, and from here, I put a hand on him, and then we started playing. In situations like this, now my hips are exposed. Giancarlo he can go into a flying guard pull on me, okay? So typically the stances in jiu-jitsu tend to be much more down. Head, roughly the same side as the hips, and distance between us. Classic throws, like for example, a soto, down, can be difficult in these circumstances because now you can grab my legs as I attempt to give and throw. Okay. As a result, many of the classic throws of judo become a little more difficult. They have to be adapted quite a bit in order to work effectively in a jiu-jitsu context. The ankle pick, on the other hand, doesn't need to be adapted at all. The jigotai, or defensive posture, is the perfect time to hit ankle picking. Okay. From here, I'm either going to go to a lapel on either side, or I'm going to go over the back and grip either shoulder or my training partner's scapula. Okay, and that's going to give us more than enough under those circumstances to turn and go straight in and pick my training partner's ankle. Okay, the ankle pick is probably the single best adapted move to apply, especially for a beginning student, on the commonly seen jigotai, or defensive posture of jiu-jitsu. Okay, because ultimately every ankle pick has the same object, jigotai, which is to take our training partner's head and put it over his foot. Okay, that's the perfect scenario for any ankle pick. And the jigotai, all we have to do is move his head that far. And now we're ready to pull the foot out. Okay, so it requires a minimal amount of work on your part. When we see that jigotai, we're playing distance here like so, look out, it's an easy thing for us now is to put our hand on our training partner. Then my foot gets replaced by my knee, and we're straight in place. Now, we put him down, and it's money in the bank. Okay, so of all the various takedowns of jiu-jitsu, this is the one which is perhaps best adapted to the most common stance that we see in competition. Okay guys, now another reason why I really favor ankle picks a lot for your early development in the standing position is because they really combine extremely well with the most common move in the standing position in all of jiu-jitsu, which is guard pulling. Now, I know a lot of you watching this video, when you hear me say this, you're going to be like, oh, come on, man. I bought this video and learning how to take people down, not pull guard. I can pull guard already. Well, let's get something straight. First, guard pulling is a big part of the standing game in jiu-jitsu, whether you like it or not, okay? Personally, I think jiu-jitsu would be a more exciting sport if there were more rules regarding guard pulling that pushed it more towards the standing position. That's my personal opinion. But the reality is there's not. Okay, you got to deal with reality, and it's very obvious that guard pulling is the majority of jiu-jitsu matches begin with a guard pull. So we have to be able to address this. Now, if I just go to naively pull guard on someone who knows what they're doing, they're going to get the advantage on me. Okay, if I just grab minimally their sleeve and they start dancing around my legs, you can end up in a very poor position right off your guard pulls. Okay. One of the great things about ankle picks is when you screw them up and the other guy's got fast feet and you miss the foot, his legs are not really in a strong passing position. You can pull them out of balance and quickly turn any failed ankle pick into a very effective and very easy guard pull. Okay, it'll look something like this. So we're here in front of our training partner, we come out and we hit an initial grip on our training partner. I come in, I try, and my opponent steps out and moves away. I can just use that shot hand, which is now failed on the ankle pick, now becomes a plant hand, and I can physically pull my body directly into the various forms of guard pull that we favor. Okay, so any failed ankle pick creates excellent conditions for a highly successful guard pull, where you're not just pulling guard, but you're pulling very offensive guards that we'll be looking at later on in this video series. So for example, Ashigarami, okay? So to give you a preview of things we'll be looking at a lot when we get further into the video series, let's say we come out in hand fighting situation and I snatch a cross grip on my training partner. I try from here for an ankle pick and it fails. Okay, I plant my hand, take the inside position with my foot, and I pull my training partner right into an Ashigarami. He goes to stand up on us, and from here, we knock him down and we score a sweep. Okay, so this would be a good example of a takedown failure leading to a guard pull, which scores exactly the same number of points as the failed takedown would have scored if it had succeeded. So I failed with my ankle pick, went straight into an Ashigarami, which gave me a sweep, and scored 2 points. Okay, the same amount of points I would have scored if the ankle pick had worked. And in this way, a failed ankle pick can end up getting you the same reward as a successful ankle pick. That's a wonderful thing. Even when you fail, you get success. And that's another reason why I favor ankle picks so much, because a failed ankle pick leads very, very well into successful guard pulls. Okay, the two longest levers in the human body are those between the head and the tailbone, which is the whole spine and head. That's one tremendously long lever, roughly half of your opponent's body. And the other is between the hip and the ankle. That's the second half. If I control the head through my training partner's lapel, and I get a hold of the end of the lever down here, all the way by the ankle, not grabbing up here by the gi pants or by the calf muscle, but all the way down here. If my opponent goes to move his leg back and away from me, he's fighting against the two longest levers of the body. If I control the head and spine, very, very long lever, and the whole length of the leg, when he tries to move out of here, it's awfully, awfully difficult. And very little force is required to put our man down to the floor. Okay? Now let's contrast that with, say, for example, a single leg. If you have your back to the camera, Giancarlo, let's understand something about single legs. The number one defense to any form of leg attack, whether it be double leg or single leg, will always be a sprawl. Something has to happen for a sprawl to happen. And that something is your opponent's foot has to come off the mat. Watch Giancarlo's left foot when he goes into a sprawl. You will notice that the first movement is the foot comes off the mat, and then the leg goes back and back and back and back, and he sprawls successfully. And it all began with Giancarlo's foot coming off the mat. If Giancarlo is not allowed to move his foot off the mat and he tries to sprawl, can't do it. But when he picks the foot up, now it's so easy for the leg to go back and away, and the sprawl happens. Okay? The beauty of ankle picks is they glue your opponent's foot to the mat. And as a result, sprawling, the number one defense to most leg takedowns, becomes extremely difficult. You'll be on this side, I'll be on this side. Okay, let's come close to the camera, and I want you guys to focus on Giancarlo's foot. Okay? If I take his head and I put it over the top, just like so, when I catch, my pinky comes down all the way to the floor. So you're truly at the end of the lever, never grabbing up here. Okay? I get a good grip. Now, when he goes to pick his foot up off the mat, it's hard because his head is over his foot. When he goes to sprawl, he can only sprawl the other leg. And that's not going to help. Okay? Now, do your best to sprawl, buddy. Go. It's physically impossible and very easy for us to complete. Okay? The ankle pick is probably the single best example of using the two longest levers of the human body, the cranium connected to the spine and the upper leg and lower leg connected as one, to create tremendous leverage effects to make sprawling, the number one defense to any form of leg attack in grappling, almost impossible. Okay? All we need is conditions. The idea of catching down by the end of the lever. I control the head and I control the heel. Now he goes into a full sprawl with everything he's got. And with one hand, I can easily hold the leg in place and prevent the sprawl. I could never do that if I was holding around Giancarlo's leg here at the knee. Okay, he goes into a full power sprawl from here, and it's gonna be hard. I gotta know exactly what I'm doing to prevent that from happening. Okay, but the ankle pick remains the single most mechanically efficient way to prevent the number one defense to any form of leg attack, the sprawl, from ever happening. And that's another reason why I favor it so much as one of your first standing skills. Now, we know what our goal is in this first volume of the Feet to Floor series. It's to take you as a developing student in Jiu-Jitsu and get you to a level within 3 to 6 months where you can confidently go out against someone your own size and skill level and start scoring points in the standing position. And our basic proposition is we want you to focus on a few fundamental takedowns in the standing position. And we're saying that the collar drag and the ankle pick are the two which we're going to give special study to, as these are the ones most likely to give you good results early on in your development and get your confidence up. Whenever we go to work with ankle picking, we need to understand there are two major forms of ankle pick, and you need to be good at both. Okay, the first are the so-called outside ankle picks. You just have a leg forward. From here, an outside ankle pick, as the name implies, my hand goes from the outside and catches the outside of my training partner's ankle, just like so. Okay, this creates a situation where we can pull on the ankle, knee slide, and put our man down. Okay, so that's the first form of ankle pick that you must master. There is a second form of ankle pick. This is the inside ankle pick, where he switches legs, for example, and from here my hand comes from the inside and picks here at the inside of the ankle, and like before, knee slide and put our man down to the mat. Okay, you guys must become adept at the idea of picking on both sides. You will not be able to maximize your effectiveness with ankle picking if you only have outside ankle picks or inside ankle picks. You must be able to be effective with both. The good news is there's almost no change in your body's disposition as you attempt both. It's just which you reach to. Okay, now what you're going to need to develop this is what I scream in the gym every day: fast hands. Okay, so a simple drill which I use to develop is I have a training partner stand in front of me just with one leg forward, and from here he takes a bent over posture, and without any hands on my training partner, I just have my students practice making a fast hand and getting to my training partner's heel. Okay, you don't have to be the fastest guy in the world, but you should be able to reach out the same way a boxer reaches out with a jab. You should be able to reach with your attack hand and get to your training partner's foot. Make sure when you grip that your pinky is all the way down by the floor. Don't be lazy and start grabbing deep hands. Don't be grabbing calf muscles. Okay, that's not good enough. You're losing effectiveness there. From a situation where we have hands on a training partner, we're going to make fast hand contact to our training partner like so. Then he switches feet. And from here, same thing. We have a hand on our training partner. We get fast hands to our training partner's legs. He switches feet on me. And we come straight in. We get fast hands to our training partner's heel. He switches feet on me. And from here, we get those fast hands. Okay, then we switch sides. That's good, right? And from here, we put a hand on our training partner. And we come all the way down to our training partner's heel. He switches stance. And just like before, we come out. And we get fast hands to the leg. And as a result, we can make good contact. So we're constantly developing our hands the same way a boxer has a fast jab to the face. We have fast hands to the heel. Okay, he switches sides. And from here, we have fast hands to the heel. We switch sides. And from here, we have fast hands to the heel. He switches sides. And we have fast hands to the heel. Okay, you have to be able to get your hands quickly, flicking out and catching at your training partner's heels, and from both inside and outside. And as you develop skills, and we're down in jigger-tie situation, you're going to find you're going to get to that heel very, very quickly in a very short period of time. Remember, guys, there's 2 ankle picks out there. There's more, but that's the first divergence that you're going to have to understand. The first one you're going to have to master. Don't half your effectiveness in the standing position by only having one kind of ankle pick. Get them both. It's easy to learn both. They're very similar to each other. Use them both to maximize your effectiveness and your development. Let's start getting into the mechanical details that you're going to need to develop a successful ankle pick or kibitsugeshi in a competitive setting when you're sparring in the gym or you're entering into a competition. The first thing that I want you to learn and understand is that there is a correlation between what we call the shot hand and the shot leg. Okay, what does this mean? Let's define our terms and then we can show how this is going to make an increase in your performance. Okay, whenever you go for an ankle pick, one of your hands controls your opponent's body. Okay, and you have a choice between going for a lapel grip, cross lapel grip, shoulder grip, over the top. You can even have your hand on the floor. Okay, we'll be dealing with this as we go through the demonstrations. But something has to anchor me to my opponent. So I have an anchor hand that anchors me usually to my opponent's head, but it can also be the floor and other situations as well. Okay, we control our opponent's head through the anchor hand, which controls anywhere around here, here, or here. Okay, now the second thing we have is we have a shot hand. That's the one that actually shoots for my opponent's ankle. Okay, so shot hand. And you have a shot leg. And let's understand the most important thing. The shot hand and the shot leg are always the same side, regardless of the ankle pick. Okay, that's so important. I'm going to say it again. Your shot hand and your shot leg are always the same side, regardless of the ankle pick. Okay. When I come in here, if I have opposite shot hand and opposite shot leg, something bad happens. I come in on my training partner and I end up with a short reach. So when he steps back, you tend to come up short. Not only do you come up short with the beginnings of back exposure. So when he starts pulling me forward, I go forward and my back gets exposed, he runs behind me, and we end up in dreadful situations like this. Okay? Because he made the mistake of failing to correlate your short hand and your short leg. You shortened your reach and you partially exposed your back. Two things that we don't want with ankle picks, okay? So what we do want is something like this. Once we've established our anchor hand on our training partner, I want to get into a situation where my short hand and short leg are the same side, okay? So that when I go for my training partner's heel, you've got great reach. I could go way past his heel and make good contact. So even if he steps back into my hand. Okay, so you've got a tremendous reach. Moreover, my chest faces my opponent. So even if he steps out, my chest is facing him. We're not pointing out here somewhere where there's a partial back exposure. Okay? So correlating the short hand and the short leg is crucial for preventing back exposure and lengthening your reach to get to an opponent who's got fast feet. If I've got this situation here, I'm shortening my own reach for the leg. He steps back and it's gone. Okay? When I come in here, he goes back, he just runs right into my hand. Okay? You've got a much longer reach and you're facing your opponent squarely with your chest rather than partially with your back. Okay? Now this is true regardless of whether you go for an inside or an outside pick. There's nothing to be confused about here. It's always the same side. Okay? So if I come in on my training partner, he puts the leg back, now I do the same. It's the same idea. Short hand and short leg are the same. If I screw this up, I shorten my reach and I can't get to my opponent's heel. Okay? So it's very, very important that we learn as athletes, we always correlate our short hand and our short leg. That means this has to be done before I shoot. So if we're, say for example, we're right versus right situation, and I snap my training partner's grip off, I'm currently staying with my right side forward. As he goes into a Jigatai defensive stance, okay, I have to switch my stance. Here I'm shooting from a faulty stance. He steps the leg back, there's back exposure. And now we're in trouble, okay? Because I screwed up the correlation between my short hand and my short leg. So what we have to develop is the idea of, I want to switch my stance so that my short hand and short leg are always the same, okay? Now, it's a simple thing for us to go in and get a good connection to our opponent's leg and put this man down to the floor, okay? So let's understand right from the start, guys. Always, we have this idea of short hand and short leg is the same to lengthen our reach, okay? You can see from here, I have a good reach from here, but if I switch my knees, my reach gets cut in half, okay? In addition, my shoulder gets exposed to my opponent and there's the beginnings of back exposure here. It's never a good thing, okay? So always, we create conditions where short hand and short leg are the same. If I'm opposite, I must train myself religiously to always switch my stance. So that from here, it's an easy thing for us to come on in and put our man down to the floor, okay? So always, 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 guys, if we've got an anchor hand on our opponent, we have to correlate our short hand and our short leg. Make sure they're on the same side, regardless of whether it's an inside pick or an outside pick. Now, our goal is to get you guys developing a strong ankle pick that you can confidently use against someone your own size and skill level in 3 to 6 months. One of the skills that you're going to have to develop is the skill of making your opponent take a step, okay? If we come out towards each other in a typical kind of jiu-jitsu stance, and from situations like this, we go forward on a training partner and start pulling. If his legs are a long way back, the feet are a long way back, it can feel like a difficult thing to get all the way through and get to an opponent's legs. He steps back and you feel like, man, it's a long way to reach now. I don't want to get overextended here, okay? One safeguard against this is the ability to make an opponent take a step, okay? If you can make your opponent take a step forward and create an exposed ankle picking is going to be a lot easier for you, okay? This is something we should always be able to do. So we come out towards a training partner and his feet are back and his hands are thrust down and it feels like his feet are a light year away. It's going to be hard for us to hit an ankle pick, okay? Under these circumstances, it might be relatively simple for us to get a hand on our training partner, and from here I'm going to dance away from the leg that I want and make him take a step. Now it's going to be relatively simple for us to come down and get to our pick and put our man down on the floor. Okay, so if we can make a man take a step, that's money in the bank. It makes our job a lot easier. If we come out towards an opponent, this time I want the other foot. I come out towards the man, and from here I latch on just like so. Look how I dance away from the legs that I want. And as a result, it's an easy thing for us to pick and put him down to the mat. Okay? If you can make a man take a step, everything's easier. The good news is the pattern is very, very simple. Once I establish a power hand on my training partner, if I step away from the leg, it brings the leg in. He steps back, I step away from the leg, and it brings the leg in. And it's this which is going to make it easy for us to pick that ankle and put the man down to the floor. If you develop the capacity to make your opponent take a step towards you, ankle picking becomes a lot easier. Remember, every ankle pick is ultimately the same story. And that story is taking your opponent's head, leg back, and putting his head over an exposed leg. Then, as the head comes down and we pick, you get a successful knockdown. Okay? Every ankle pick is ultimately that story. Making your opponent take a step first before you go into the shot is a big part of making that story work. Okay? So, from a situation where we start off, standing situation, we come out towards our man and we fight in, we get a good grip on our training partner, I pull and I bring the leg in. It's going to make it easy for us to pick and put him down. Make that man take a step and you'll be ankle picking a lot of people. Your ability to take someone down with an ankle pick in a competitive situation is largely correlated with your ability to freeze his foot to the mat. Okay? If my opponent's feet are light, they're going to be moving quickly, and as a result, you're going to miss a lot of ankle picks. So, for example, if this foot here is light, and I come in and I make a shot, goes back and I miss it. Okay? There's no weight over that foot. But if I take my training partner's head and I bring the head over the foot, when he goes to step off, he feels very, very awkward. When the head is directly over the foot, you cut mobility. When the head goes over the other foot, the foot becomes very, very light and moves very, very easily. Moves easily. Okay? When I bring the head over the foot, when he goes to move it now, it's like it's frozen to the mat. Now he moves the head to the other foot, and now it moves very, very easily away from me. Okay? And we miss it. So our whole thing is to be able to take the head and lock it over our training partner's foot like so. Now when he goes to move it away from me, it's so easy to go forward and make the pick. Now, a natural question for you guys to be asking is, okay, that's cool. How do I put weight over the head, onto the head, and make for an easy pick? Well, let's come close to the camera, Giancarlo, and show exactly how this happens. Okay, there are different grips you can use for ankle picks, and all of them are pretty effective. But the best grips of all involve your training partner's lapel. As we've said in numerous other videos, the lapel is essentially a rope around your training partner's head. So the higher your hand is on the lapel, the more you are directly controlling your opponent's head. If I have my palm facing my opponent's body, it's good for pushing, but not very good for pulling. And in an ankle pick, you want to be able to pull. So once we get our grip, we want the grip to be up here by the collarbone. If I'm down here by the lower pectorals, like so, when Giancarlo brings his head up, it's hard for me to have any effect over the head. Okay, take a cheeky side. When I go for an ankle pick, the grip is so low, there's no effective control of my opponent's head. So it's quite easy for him to step off and get away from it. Okay, I want my grip, standing up, here, so that my thumb, if we come in close to the camera, is right there on my training partner's collarbone. Okay, that's going to give excellent control of my training partner's head. Secondly, I want a very strong set elbow. The way I set my elbow is to take my hand and turn the back of my hand towards my training partner's chest, like so. And this creates a hanging effect. Make your body strong and upright. Where my body weight hangs off Giancarlo, it feels all of my weight. So when I come down to the floor, it creates situations where I bring him down to the mat. Okay? If I'm naive, and I just have my hand like so, make a strong body, then I go down to the ankle, but my arm gets extended and you're in a very poor position. Okay? So what I want to do is create situations, just facing the camera, where I take a good high grip, nothing crazy, I'm not coming all the way up here, just up by the collarbone, and then from here, I start to shake out my training partner's jacket so I can turn my hand so that my palm faces myself. Okay? That's the best grip, because it creates a heavy elbow. Okay? Because we're going to play with each other now. You've got that heavy elbow. When I come down, we go straight down to the floor with him. And his head goes down with my elbow. Okay? You probably notice when you do things like pull-ups that when your arms are far apart, it's It takes more strength to pull yourself up than when your arms are in close and your elbows coming close to your hips like so. We feel very strong when our elbows are close to our body, and we tend to feel significantly weaker when our elbows drift away. So when we close the elbow in closer to the body, we get much better control of our training partner's head. Okay, jiu-jitsu stance. From here, look how when I come in like so, there's tremendous pressure down. He goes to stand up, almost impossible. And as a result, it's very easy for us now to put him down to the mat. Okay, you can also do the same thing with cross grips. Same thing with a cross grip. We come in and lock up, and I get up to the collarbone. If I'm down here somewhere, not much control of the head. Okay, he's in jiu-jitsu stance, and from the situation, just like before, my elbow comes down and puts significant weight on him so that we can easily pick him down to the mat. Okay, now you might be saying to yourself, okay, that's cool, but I've seen you demonstrate earlier in the video grips where you were over the shoulder and over the scapula. Can we do that then? The answer is it's more difficult. Okay, that's why in general, if you give me a choice, I'm going to prefer lapel and cross lapel. They are by far my favorite grips for ankle picking, okay, because it is easier to control your opponent's head position. But you can still do pretty good work with the others, okay. If I come out on a training partner and I take a rear delt grip, when he goes to pull away from us here, typically under these situations, we get still some ability to bring the head over the foot, not quite as good as a lapel, but not bad. And as a result, we score our knockdown to the mat. Okay, but if you really want to cement your opponent's head down over the foot, I generally recommend lapel and cross lapel as the number one grips, and I use the other grips when I can't get to a lapel. It might be because, for example, my opponent is in a very bent over stance. Okay, when he's extremely bent over, sometimes it can be hard to get to a lapel. Okay, but he's so bent over under these circumstances that it's pretty easy just to use any grip to get our opponent's head down to the mat and get into our picks. Okay, so the more upright my opponent is, that means the more exposed his lapels are to me. Okay, and I will use that exposure to create situations where from here we can go in and get that pick to work. So that's how we freeze our opponent's head over the foot. Make sure you do this, guys, because remember, when you don't put the head over the foot, your opponent has fast feet, and that's exactly when you go for your pick and he just steps off and you're left with nothing. Okay, but if we can put weight over the foot with that good elbow position and he goes to step out now, it's going to be awfully difficult. Okay guys, if there is one thing that is going to screw up your ability to score a successful ankle pick takedown on your training partners in the gym or in opponents in competition, it's this: an inability to control your opponent's head and keep his head level matched with yours. Okay, if his head stays up and I go down, we create situations where his head is higher than my head. Nothing good comes out of this situation. When he goes to step back, it's easy for him. Okay, you tend to get taken out of position. Why? Because in order to freeze his leg, I need his head and my head the same height. The moment his head starts going over my head, problems start to develop. Okay, even if I get the leg now, when his head is high, he can just turn his knee and drop it to the floor, and now you end up in situations with back exposure where you end up getting punished. Okay, I cannot overemphasize this simple but crucial point. When your head goes down to his heel, his head must come with you. If it doesn't, bad things start to happen. So once again, my whole idea is to create a connection between our two heads so that as we line up with each other, I've got my shot hand, my shot leg correlated, so that when my head comes down, his comes with me. So they're roughly the same height. This creates a situation where he can't step off. If his head is high and mine is low, you get into situations where you cannot finish the takedown adequately. He can easily step out and create all kinds of problems for you. And you don't have an ability to get any kind of combination going here. Now, as you find yourself missing the foot, you find yourself with a dangerously overextended arm. If he's good from here, he can go into flying triangles, belly down arm bars. There's 1,000 things he can do off this. Okay? So it's absolutely crucial that we obey the following rule. When my head goes down, his comes with me. If it doesn't, abandon the takedown and do something else. Okay, so once again, we're here in front of our training partner. You should be able to look at your buddies performing ankle picks from across a room, and you should be able to tell whether they're going to succeed or fail by this infallible sign. If we come out and make contact and I bring his head down with mine, you know it's going to succeed. He goes to step out, it's not going anywhere, and we score the takedown. But if you ever see this kind of thing happening, his head stays up, mine goes down, you get overextension. And from here, it's so easy for him to misdirect me to the outside, turn and face my back, cause all kinds of problems. Okay, so that's our number one concern. When our head goes down, his head comes down with us. It'll look like this in a competitive setting. As we come out towards our training partner in Jigatai, I come in, I score my initial grip, his head comes down, and we're in perfect position to take him down to the floor. Okay, such an important rule for your success when you start your ankle pick journey. Now, our stated goal is to get you hitting ankle picks in a fairly short period of time against competitive opponents, someone your own size and skill level. A big part of your ability to do this is to be able to transition from one foot to another. Here's a piece of common sense wisdom for you in jiu-jitsu, especially when you first start out, but even when you get more experience, you're going against tougher opponents, the majority of the moves you attempt will always fail. You guys are involved in a competitive sport where most people know what the moves you're trying to do are, and they know the counters to them. Okay, there's not that many secrets out there in jiu-jitsu. So once you get a reputation as someone who's a good ankle picker, everyone's going to start moving with fast feet and prevent you from getting to a foot. It's going to happen more and more. And despite your best attempts to take your opponent's head and bring it down over his foot, there's going to be guys with fast feet, you're going to miss feet. Okay, so we come out with our training partner, we come in, we fix up our grip, I make an outside pick on my training partner's leg and he steps off. We go right across to the second leg and put him down. Don't make it two shots. Don't go 1, 2, okay? Make it a smooth transition. Whereas I fail on my opponent's right, I come across to the left, okay? You have to be good at this, guys. The good news is, it's really easy. It doesn't cost you anything. That's why it's so important to correlate our shot hand and our shot leg. It doesn't change, okay? So we come out with our training partner, and from here, I go outside pick to inside pick and put him down, okay? Now, here's a little bit of advice for you. It's much easier for you to go from an outside pick to an inside pick than it is for you to go from an inside pick to an outside pick, okay? If I start with an inside pick, it's significantly harder for me now to make a transition to an outside pick. I'm not going to say it's impossible, you can do it, but it is harder. That's why in the majority of cases, if I have a choice, I will typically start with an outside pick because it gives me two chances. I can go outside to inside, but it is more difficult to go from inside to outside, okay? I typically lead with inside picks when I know I'm going to do a good job of putting his head over the ankle. Okay, but if I have a choice, I typically go outside first. Easier to transition to an inside if I screw it up, if I fail. So as we come out towards a training partner, and from here I make my first grip. Now I give a little pull. I create a situation. If I go to the inside pick and he steps off, it's a little more difficult to go across to the outside pick. Not impossible, but it is noticeably more difficult. Okay, so most of the time, once I see a foot is forward on this side, I will go to the outside pick and then straight across to an inside pick to finish, okay? Guys, you must have this ability. You must have the ability to seamlessly go from one to the other foot, because as you get better and you start to establish a reputation as a good ankle picker, you're going to get opponents with fast feet who anticipate your pick, and you must be able to go smoothly from one foot to the other and get to the result you wanted. Okay, we want you guys being effective with your ankle picks in a fairly short period of time. Here's something that's going to help you out a lot. Whenever I'm coaching people ankle picking for jiu-jitsu, probably one of the most common problems that arises is people tend to use their shot hand in a lateral fashion instead of a linear fashion, okay? I'm sure you guys have all seen Natural Geographic movies of bears fishing for salmon in a stream. What do? They swing with their paws and try and get a hold of a salmon and throw it out onto the riverbank. A lot of people, unfortunately, treat their ankle picks in a similar fashion. So what we often see is people go in for an ankle pick and they swing from the outside and they miss. Okay, why? When I go lateral with my hand, I'm trying to catch the outside of the foot. If I miss by even an inch and he steps back, I miss. And you see frustrated students like bears fishing for salmon and coming up disappointed. Okay, if I go linear and my hand goes behind him, when he steps back, he runs into my hand. When I go lateral and miss, there's no second chance. Okay, throw your shot hand like a jab. Boom. So it goes into it. Don't throw your shot hand like a hook and miss. Okay, I don't know how many times over 30 years of coaching I've seen things like this. You have fast feet, Giancarlo. Guys do a good job securing the ankle hand. They come in, and that's what you see. Now I can't even reshoot for the second ankle because my hand's over here somewhere. Okay, when you go linear and he misses, you go across to the other side very easily. Okay, so make sure, guys, you hit your shot hand in a linear fashion like a jab, never like a hook. So when we go in on a training partner, I go through and I make my catch. Okay, as opposed to guys coming in and nothing, not even a reshot. But if I go linear, the reshot is very easy. Okay, so remember, guys, that shot hand goes in straight lines, not lateral. Now we're looking at what's going to make you an effective ankle picker in a pretty short period of time. One of the most important things you can develop is the ability to create a drive leg. Now, ask yourself, what the hell is a drive leg? You will notice when we have an opponent in front of us and we create a shot hand and a shot leg, you will see that my leg behind me becomes extended out along the floor. We'll switch positions, Giancarlo, so that I have my shot side, shot leg, shot hand, and then you'll notice I have a drive leg behind me. That pushes me off the mat and creates drive. Okay? Guys, anytime you got to push something in life in general, you always need a drive leg behind you. If someone asks me to push into a wall, and I walk up to the wall and push like this, I just push myself backwards. If I want to push something, I need a leg behind me, and this becomes my drive leg. And now I can push effectively. If I have no drive leg, when I push, I just move myself. Okay, takedowns are no exception. When I go in on a training partner, if I come down to 2 knees, I have no drive leg behind me. Now if Giancarlo just puts up resistance, I have no ability to drive. I have no ability to stand up or move on from here. I'm stuck. So what I need is a shot side and a drive leg. That creates a situation where I can drive through my opponent. As you hit the drive, you will notice there is extension and the leg drives off the floor and puts the head into a position where we can go through and score. Now, you need to do 2 things, not 1. You need to be able to create the drive leg and then hit a subsequent knee slide. This is very, very important, so I'm going to say it again. You've got to be able to create a drive leg, and then that drive leg will turn into a knee slide so that you do not overextend yourself. So we have a training partner here in front of us. We get to our grip, I come down, I hit the initial pick. I have my drive leg behind me. Now watch my right leg. I don't just try to pick from here and pull. You might take some people down with this if they're less experienced, but you're not going to take down a stud. When you're going against someone who's good, I must now take my drive leg and knee slide it forward. So we switch knees and create a shelf. So when he tries to stand up from here and prevent scoring points, it's a difficult thing. Okay? So there is an internal pattern with your ankle picks where we have our shot side, shot hand and leg, and then a drive leg behind us. So we can drive into the takedown. That becomes a knee slide so that we can create a situation where we're upright and ready to pursue our opponent at the completion of the takedown. Nothing more depressing than knocking someone down to their ass and then them getting up and you not scoring any points. Maybe scoring an advantage, but no points. Okay, you see this all the time. Guy's been studying his ankle picks. He's got some competency. He comes in and knocks his opponent down to his ass. Okay, but stops. He posts on the shoulder, yanks himself back up to his feet, and you're like, oh man, Okay, you scored an advantage, but you didn't score points, okay, because you got up and recovered. It's not enough to knock him down to his ass. You got to knock him down to his ass and get on top of him. And that means you got about a knee slide. So when we come in on our training partner, and I come in, I make my contact, as I knock him down to his ass, I knee slide. So I'm close to him. Now we put our leg up. You are now halfway to standing. If Giancarlo goes to get up from here, it's damned awkward. Basically what he has to do is throw his leg over me and come up like so. And that's going to put him into a situation where you're in a good position now to finish by other means. Okay, we'll look at that further on in the video. So the pattern which you must develop is one of shot hand, shot leg, boom, to the ankle. Drive leg behind you, pushing. And drive leg becomes knee slide, so we can come up and put our man down and control the aftermath of the takedown. So it'll look like this. We come out towards our man, we get our grip, I go in, I make my initial contact, I knee slide in, okay? Then from here, we control the aftermath of the takedown. He goes to stand up on us, we're right over the top, and we score our takedown points. We keep him down long enough to score our 2 points. There's a second reason why the knee slide is so important. There's nothing more depressing than doing a good move and getting punished for it. And that can happen if you're naive with an ankle pick. Let's say Giancarlo, he's a legit world champion, he's a stud. If I'm naive and I put him down with an ankle pick, he can arm lock me. Okay, if I overextend myself. If I come in and I hit a nice ankle pick and I come into his guard, boom, done. I scored 2 points and got finished. Okay, that's kind of embarrassing. By knee sliding, we make that danger significantly less, okay? Because when I knee slide, I can pull my hand back. My power hand comes back to myself. Don't finish ankle picks in extension. You're gonna get arm locked, omoplated, triangled, all these things you don't want, okay? Just to slide down, but if I finish in positions like this, it's easy for Giancarlo to go omoplata. Now my takedown scores no points because I went into a submission hold, and if I'm in a submission hold, there's no points scored. There's an easy triangle here, and of course there's an easy arm lock, as we just saw. So you got to be careful with this. Once you put them down, you got to start retracting your arm, or you're going to face submission problems. So when we come in, this is, of course, is not part of wrestling. In wrestling, you could just hold onto the collar, no problem. But in jiu-jitsu, this is a serious issue. So we come in on our training partner. When I come in and I make my first drive, when I knee slide, my body stays upright. If I don't knee slide, my body gets extended. And that's when arm bars, triangles, etc., become a real problem. You cannot finish an ankle pick in jiu-jitsu in an extended state. You will get punished with submission holds, okay? And as I said, nothing more depressing than hitting a nice little takedown and getting finished in the first 3 seconds of the match when you thought you'd done something good, okay? So our enemy is the idea of coming in, making an attack, and getting overextended with our power arm and getting finished or submitted on the arm, okay? So the way we take this danger away is we go in on our man, we make that initial contact, and I knee slide, and withdraw my hand. So we prevent the problem of overextension. Now, because I'm upright, when we get into a scramble to get up in top position, you're going to win the scramble every time because you get a height advantage and you're going to score your points. Okay? So what do we need in summary? You've got to be able to create a drive leg. And then you've got to be able to use that drive leg to knee slide to create situations where you dominate the end of the takedown and you don't get overextended and finished. So one more time. We come out towards our training partner. From here, I come out and make an initial grip, knee slide, and there's our takedown. We're in good position to go. Now, one of the most important themes of this video has been the distinction between Kenkyotsu situations and Iotsu situations. We've seen earlier in this video that whenever we go into standing position, the first thing that we look for when we observe our training partner is, are they standing right-handed or are they standing left-handed against us? Because this will determine a large part of how we go to grip them and how we go to attack them. It will influence almost every aspect of the standing position, okay? And failure to make this distinction often ends up in failure to take people down or effectively pull guard or what have you. Giancarlo and I are both right-handed, so almost all of the ankle picks we've demonstrated so far have been from right versus right situations, or the so-called IL-2 situations, where we both have the same side forward. You've seen that from right versus right situations, we have to switch our base and create a shot hand and a shot leg on the same side, okay? But everything we've done has been to start in this position, okay? Earlier in the video, we've also seen that it can be a little risky. Not always, but against a good opponent, it can be a little risky in these situations to just come out and put a hand on someone. You can get thrown in situations like this, okay? So typically there has to be some kind of grip strategy. I will, for example, often take a left-handed grip, a reverse power hand, and I will cross grip it and start pulling and creating situations where I can make a good attack on a training partner, okay? That's all outlined in the grip fighting section. Now, an obvious question for you guys is, okay, every ankle pick you've demonstrated has been right versus right. What do I do if my opponent comes out left-handed and I'm right-handed? The so-called Kenki-Yotsu situation, where we have opposite stances. I'm standing with one foot forward, he's standing with the opposite foot forward. What do we do now with our ankle picks? My general word of advice to you is, in most of these situations, I tend to favor inside ankle picks. Okay, there are some exceptions to this, but most of the time in a Kenki-Yotsu situation, I will just attack his lead foot with an inside pick. Let me demonstrate. Okay, I come out right-handed and I see Giancarlo come out left-handed. Okay, so we're already starting to think, okay, this is a Kenki-Yotsu situation and I will adapt my gripping strategy accordingly. In the Kenki-Yotsu situation, most of the time it's safe for us just to go straight in and jab or fence the power hand in, okay, as opposed to the IL-2 situation where this can be a little hazardous because now he has just a short turn and throw and I'm in trouble, okay. In the Kenki-Yotsu situation, it's much safer for us to go straight in and just make a connection on our opponent like so. You will notice now, because Giancarlo is standing left-handed against me, his left foot is one that's closest, okay? So typically what we do is we dance away from it just a little like so, and this creates a situation where we have shot hand and shot leg on the same side, and then from here we pick, knee slide, and put our man down to the floor, okay? So in most cases, Kenki-Yotsu, we attack the foot that's closest to us with an inside pick. So we come out right-handed against our training partner. I fence my hand in. I can go straight or I can feed it, your choice, okay? Now from here, I dance away from the leg and I pull it in towards me. Now, I don't want to create situations where I can't put weight over my training partner's foot. If I come in here, you can see that I have hand and shot leg opposite side. And this can create problems because it shortens my reach, okay? So typically what I like to do under these circumstances is switch my base. Now you have much greater reach. You can go in, create a drive leg behind you, and put your opponent down to the floor. So this is going to be the preferred method, okay? So once again, we start off opposite stance. I go through and I make a grip. When I dance out to the side, I'm going to switch my base. So I dance, pull, there's the switch. So now we have shot hand and shot leg on the same side, and I go in and score. We now have a drive leg behind you as it extends, we knee slide, and put our man down to the floor. Kenki-Yotsu situation, catch. If I just go straight down from here, I tend to shorten my reach. Okay, it's not the end of the world because there's no back exposure, at least in the Kenki-Yotsu situation, but it's not optimal. I'm not going to say it's 100% wrong in Kenki-Yotsu, but it's not optimal. The optimal situation is one where I switch my base, like so. Now shot hand and shot leg are on the same side. It creates a drive leg behind me and an easy knee slide so you can dominate the end of the takedown, okay? Now, does that mean I can only shoot inside picks? Nope. You can hit outside picks, but you are gonna have to drag his leg forward, okay? So from Kenki-Yotsu situation, we come out towards our training partner. I'll come in and I will dance away from the leg that I want, okay? So I bring my body, feet close together, and I step and I pull, and the leg comes in. Once again, from here, I'm standing right side forward. I keep my head in front. If my head's not in front and I naively stand like this, he goes double leg, and you're in trouble, Okay, so my head blocks him, my foot comes in, and I step and pull. And now I'm in the perfect position to come down, knee slide, and put that man down to the floor. Okay, so that's how you attack the outside pick in the Kenki-Otsu situation. So let's have a quick review of this. We come out towards our training partner, I lock up. If I want the foot that's closest to me, I just pull and switch my base. So I can come forward into my pick. If from Kenki-Otsu, I come into my training partner, I want an outside pick, then from here, I bring my head into a good defensive position, so it's hard for him to shoot from my legs, and as a result, I can step, pull, create the situation I want, pick, and put our man down to the floor in a Kenki-Otsu situation, okay? So those are some simple ways for us to modify the pick for Kenki-Otsu. Let's quickly go further into this now and start incorporating the idea of movement and how movement can create very good knee picking opportunities. When we go Kenki-Otsu, you're going to notice, he's in stance, that the pyramid position, which is defined as a straight line forming a triangle where the apex of the triangle represents the most efficient direction of pulls and pushes. Okay? Take your stance. If I stand on the apex of that triangle, that's where I can push people and pull people most efficiently. Okay. In Kenki-Otsu, I recommend to you get to that pyramid position. Okay. So when we come off in front of our training partner, and I come in and I get my first grip, my whole thing is to pull with my arm and get my opponent's body behind me. So now I'm in the pyramid position. Okay. I'm not a big fan of just gripping and shooting without first moving them. You can do it, as we just demonstrated. You can get to situations where there's very little movement, and I have to create situations now where the shot leg and shot hand are opposite, and you can kind of pull it off. It's not impossible, but it's not optimal. Much better is to create situations where I get hands on my opponent and I move across in front of him and I pull with my power hand. So that Giancarlo is taken out of balance and into a situation where I'm in the pyramid. Once we get to the pyramid, from here I'm going to take my foot, pull, and create situations where I can go on either leg and put this man down to the floor. So my general advice for you when you're fighting Kenki-Otsu for ankle picks, get to your grips and play a one-handed game. Don't let him grab your shot hand. Now he controls your shot hand, he can't shoot. So keep your hand away from him and play a one-handed game that involves dancing this way. As I dance left, I pull right. Now when I pull, I switch my base. If I miss the foot that I want, I come in on the other side and pick. You can go for either one of your opponent's legs now, as opposed to shooting from a stationary position where I can only go for one leg. This one's out of distance. Okay, I can only go one side. But when I dance to the pyramid position, now I can go after either one. Now I just step again. We find ourselves in good position to take them down. Okay, so those are my general recommendations when you want to hit a nice ankle pick from the Kenki-Otsu situation. Now, we're trying to turn you guys into very, very competent ankle pickers in a very short period of time. And one of the big ways we're going to do this is by making you good at snap downs and understanding the relationship between snap downs and ankle picks. If you can understand this relationship, you're going to have a lot of success in a fairly short period of time. Okay, whenever we hit a snap down in Jiu-Jitsu, in 9 cases out of 10, we have to make sure that our opponent doesn't have a grip, what we call a power hand, on the lapels. If we grip up like so, and I try to snap Giancarlo down to the mat when his body is upright and he has a grip here on my lapels, he's connected to my torso through this power hand. And as a result, strong body, it's almost impossible to snap him down to the mat. You feel completely feeble. Now this stands in contrast to situations where I take away his power hand. And then I make his feet go back and his head forward. So for example, I could go fake Kouchigari. Okay, I could drag my training partner around, I could take Kouchigari and get him stepping back. Now his head is in front of his feet and he has no connection to my torso. And as a result, it's an easy thing for me to run across my training partner's body and shake him down to the mat. Okay? Now, what do you think someone's going to do when you've just shaken them down to the mat? What do you think their reaction is going to be? Well, if they don't react, in the sport of jiu-jitsu, if I've shaken someone down to the mat and they don't react, and I spin behind and I hold a knee down on the floor for 3 seconds, okay, I score 2 points. In judo, you wouldn't score any points for that. In jiu-jitsu, you score 2 points. So your opponents are going to want to get back up to their feet. If they don't, you go behind them and you score. So the majority of them are going to try and stand back up to prevent you scoring. Here's a word to the wise. When they go to stand up from a kneeling position, they are extremely vulnerable to ankle picks. Much more so than they would ordinarily be if they were in a strong defensive stance. Probably the easiest ankle picks in all of jiu-jitsu are situations where your opponent is kneeling and they go to stand up. There's a window of opportunity for you to take advantage of where you can score a lot of points. Okay? If he's in a strong defensive stance and I have grips on him and he knows I like ankle picks, it can be damn hard to score. Okay? Even if you know what you're doing and you're good at it. Okay? If he's expecting an ankle pick, he's got fast feet and he knows how to use grips, it can be tough. Okay? But if my opponent is kneeling and we've taken him down to the floor, when they go to stand up, they go one leg at a time. And it's a slow, clumsy process. As he goes up, we go under, and now we find ourselves able to penetrate through his defenses very, very easily. Why? Because he's not focused on defending himself. He's focused on getting back up to his feet. And in that window of opportunity, the takedowns come easy. Okay? So it looks like this. We're in front of our training partner. He's relatively upright. And from here, we're interested in getting grips. We know that we typically start by negating his power hand. Why? Because we're Aiotsu, and we don't want to start by just clumsily putting a power hand on him and him taking us down. Okay? So when we come out towards our training partner, he tries to get grips on me, we intercept the hand, and we're in a good position to start our attacks. Okay, I've negated his power hand. Now I put a hand on him, and from here I get his feet back to uchi, and then I start pulling him down to the mat. As he goes to get back up, as his head rises, my head goes underneath him, and from here we come into our ankle pick and we put him down to the floor. Okay? If you can learn to take advantage of this window of opportunity, as one man goes up, you're going down, you're going to put a lot of people down and score 2 points a lot of times. Okay? So once again, we come out, right versus right situation. He comes out to make grips. We intercept the hand and start dancing out to the side. I see my opportunity to take a grip and lock it in. He can put his hands on me now, it means nothing. Okay? Now I want his feet going back, so we come in, we attack Touchigari. He steps off, I step out to the side, and I bring his head down. As his head rises and he comes up, he gives us the perfect time to go into our ankle pick and put him down to the mat. Okay? So that's one great example of using a snap down to set up a very easy ankle pick. Another classic snap down is what I'm calling the Seoi snap. Really what it is it's kind of a butchered version of an old judo throw you don't see very often these days, ukiyotoshi. And the idea is that we're going to drop body weight and snap our opponent down in a move that looks superficially similar to a seoi-nage. Okay? The idea is we've got an opponent here in front of us and he comes out, he makes grips, we go through, we snap his grip off. I take either straight or cross grip, like so, and we start dancing around the mat. He goes into his defensive postures. From here, we start dancing around the mat. Now, as I bring him forward onto his toes, we create situations where I bring his arm up, I jump my body in, and I snap him down to all fours. I would love to put him on his back and score points, but you know what it's like. Guys are tough. They don't give up easy takedown points. They scramble back up to their feet. As they go back up to their feet, it's so easy for us to pick and put them down. Okay? I'll say this to you again, guys. The most vulnerable guy in the standing position is the guy who's going to stand up. You pull that foot away and they fall like children. Guys that you could normally never take down suddenly become pretty easy to take down. So we start off, right versus right situation. He comes out and makes a grip. We take away his power hand. Okay? From here, we start a full motion on our training partner. I come through and I try a Seoi snap. He comes up to his feet and we create a situation where we can pick him down to the floor. Okay, so this would be a second example of using a variation of a snap down, in this case a sailor snap, to get our opponent down to his knees, and then we attack him as he tries to recover. If he doesn't get off his knees, it's a good time for you just to circle around behind him and score points. So of course he's going to try and stand up. And when he does, he's very, very vulnerable. Now, we're trying to get you guys to a level in a fairly short time frame where you're hitting ankle picks on people with a good deal of confidence. Let's understand something. Jiu-Jitsu is a highly competitive sport. Your opponents know most of the moves you're attempting, and once you become successful with a move, then they really know you're trying to attempt that. And so there's going to be a lot of failure. There's going to be a lot of times where you try a move, not just ankle picks, but any move, and you're going to fail. You get a reputation as someone who's good with an arm lock, people are going to resist it. And for every 10 arm locks you attempt, you might only succeed with 3. Okay, this is all part of the normal development in Jiu-Jitsu. What you have to start doing is learning to use failure to generate success. And the good news is with ankle picks, it's actually pretty easy, because as we saw earlier in this video, when you fail with an ankle pick, there's not really many bad consequences. Your back is not exposed to your opponent, and your weight is not caught underneath his weight. Okay, so we can use this productively and hit what we call double picks. Double picks refer to situations where you hit an ankle pick, it fails, and then you just try again and succeed on the second occurrence. This is a very, very common and highly effective strategy, and you guys have to be good at it. So let's look at a situation where we're Aiotsu here in front of our training partner, and Aiotsu, from here we go through, yeah, that confused Giancarlo there, didn't it? We get a hold of our training partner, he's in good posture, and I come in on my training partner and I attempt, and he steps out, okay? I failed, then all we do under these circumstances is we give a good pull and we bring the leg back in. And as a result, we go through on the second attempt and put our man down, okay? This is a very, very common and pretty simple strategy to use and has a very high success rate. Don't think because you failed the first time, it's all over. Don't just quit, okay? Rather see it as an opportunity. Understand that the ankle pick is a very low risk move and his weight's not on top of you. If I fail with a single leg and we come in here, when he goes into a sprawl, it's hard for me now to work successfully out of a position where my stance gets broken, okay? There's things you can do from there, of course, but it's hard, okay? But an ankle pick, on the other hand, when he steps out of it, you're still in a pretty good position. And you can go for the other leg, or you can pull him back in and go back for the same leg you attacked, okay? So we use this all of the time. We come out with a strong training partner, we go in, we treat a situation, I go in and pick and he steps out. Now, we just give a little pull, we bring him right back in and dump him all the way down to the floor, okay? So in a competitive setting, it'll look something like this. We come out towards our training partner, we put hands on, we go through and get our grip, I draw him in, I come in and fail, okay? Now I pull him right back in a second time, we dump him down to the floor and we get our score. Don't just quit because you failed the first time. Understand that failure is a common thing in a competitive combat sport where you all know the same moves. And be prepared to take advantage of the fact that the ankle pick leaves you in a pretty good position if the first attack fails. And go for that second pick, and very often you'll find your opponent doesn't defend the second one nearly as well as he defended the first one. Most people tend to have a tendency to become overconfident with an initial success, okay? So you get an opponent and he successfully defends the first pick. And he's thinking to himself, I made a miss, okay? Then they get pulled in the second one and bang, down they go to the floor, okay? Take advantage of your opponent's overconfidence at his first success and your first failure and turn the tables with a second one. Now we're looking at the idea of ankle picking and how this is going to form one of the foundations of your early game in the standing position. How you can go from not really having any standing game to having a pretty damn good standing game in a minimal amount of time. Now, all the ankle pick finishes we've looked at so far have been immediate finishes where you got the heel and dropped them right where he stood. These are the best kinds of finishes, okay? And these finishes occur in situations where we can successfully bring his head over the leg that we're attacking. So when we get to situations like this, Giancarlo drops to his butt right where we hit him. Boom. And those are the best and most desirable finishes when it comes to ankle picks. But let's be honest, in a competitive combat sport, what's ideal doesn't always happen. And in fact, in the majority of cases, it's usually something less than ideal that happens. And you've got to be able to deal with this. It's all part of the sport. One of the most common occurrences when you start your ankle picking journey is the idea that you will pick the ankle successfully, you'll get to the ankle, but you won't be able to sit him down on his butt. Your opponent will stand up and remain standing, and you will have the heel and you'll stand up with him. So we get into situations where we successfully get to the ankle and we end up in situations like this. Okay, where you've picked the ankle, but you have not put him down. And now you're going to have to go for what we call a high finish, where both of you are in the standing position and you've got to put him down now. Okay, how is this going to work? Well, it's important you understand this because it's a pretty common occurrence. Okay, we've got our training partner in front of us, and from here, we go through, we get our first grip, we go in, boom, and we catch, okay? But when it's time to put him down, we end up in a position like so. He will probably have hands in front, defending the position, that's common. He may not be grabbing you, but he'll have his hands on your hands and working like so, okay? First finish from this situation, we glue his foot to our hip. Don't have the foot out here somewhere. If he pushes and threads his foot back to himself, brings knee, turn the knee outwards and threads the foot back, you'll lose the foot. Okay, this is a common occurrence. So if we have the foot, don't have it out here in the ear, like so. No contact between us. He turns the knee and limps his leg and it's gone. And you will often see people pushing strongly with the hands and then limping the leg and it's gone. So the first thing we do, hug it to your hip. When he goes to limp his leg, it's not going anywhere. Don't let the strength of your hands fight the strength of his legs. You will lose almost every time. He limps the leg, boom, gone. Hug the ankle here, not up by the knee. That's not good. Okay, then he can jump guard on you. Hug it down here, so you're too far away for a guard pull. Okay, now he goes to limp out. Secondly, keep him moving. If he's static and hopping, hands on, he can start to break the grip and finish your connection. If you do get the grip broken, don't worry, we'll look at some things to do, but it's not optimal, okay? We want this guy moving, okay? I generally recommend don't move towards him. If you move towards him, you give him an easy guard jump, okay? So from here, I recommend lateral motion away from the man, okay? Come back this way. Now, once we hit lateral motion in this direction, I'm going to hit a sasai on his remaining foot. That's a foot box, long hands on. We're going to come in, we're going to rotate, I'm going to pull the head with me, and I'm going to block, hit my training partner's foot, put him down to the mat. At the very least, he's going to have to post his hand on the floor, and that'll give us opportunities to take his back, okay? So if we have the foot, and I come in here and I block, and he puts a hand down on the mat, we're in a situation now where we can start to take advantage. As he puts hands on me, I step and pull, and I bring his hands down to the floor. Now as he goes to recover his position, he's going to present a situation where I can step over my training partner's body and hook onto him and score 4 points instead of 2 for the takedown. So once again, we start off in front of our training partner. This guy's a stud, and he doesn't go down easily into the initial attack. And as a result, we end up like so. I hug the foot, okay? I don't come too close and give him an easy guard pull. I walk away from my training partner, pulling the head down. If the head's up, he can jump guard. So I want to circle and pull, prevent him jumping. Then from here, I block, he puts his hands down, and from here, I pull, and he goes into a 4-point position. I keep the head down, and I throw the far hook in. So I turn this foot, step, and we go long hook, short hook. Then from here, we take away the wrists, and we get to our score. You actually do better using this method because he scored 4 points for the back take instead of just 2 points for the takedown. Okay, now that's one method we can use, the sasai, or sasai, as it's actually called. My opponent comes out. From here, we come in, we get our grips. We go in just like before, pick, and bring the leg up. Okay, again, he's giving us a hard time from here. In the previous move, I attacked the front of the leg. Okay, this time I'm going to step and back step. 1, 2, 1, 2. Do not step towards him. You give him an easy guard pull, and it's very hard for you to make an effective contact with the back of his leg. step to the side, and back step. Off that back step, you're going to have an easy knockdown to the mat. Okay? So once again, we hit a nice pick. We go through, we drag him in, I come, catch, and we end up in standing position. Always, I want his head down and my body circling. As he goes to stand up straight, we step in and put him down with Ouchigari. Okay? Now, a natural question for you guys to be asking is, okay, that's cool. What if I hit an inside pick and he doesn't go down immediately? Don't worry, some good moves we can do there too. So I go in, I bring him in towards me, I hit an inside pick and we stand up. Okay? Again, he's got hands on me. This is even better because now he can't pull guard. Okay? You've got a better position. I'm going to step across his body and we're going to hit Tani Atoshi, where I block my training partner's foot with my foot. I want to get the sole of my foot to his Achilles tendon. Let's turn this one. I want the sole of my foot to touch here. As I step in, I block and put him down. I stay up on my elbow so that when we go to scramble for position, I'm higher than him and we get to the pin. Don't finish on your shoulder where he might end up getting on top of you. Okay? So once again, we come in, we hit a good pick. Under these circumstances, I come in and catch. Unfortunately, I'm not able to put him down immediately. Okay? From the situation, I start moving across my training partner. I step out wide and I block with Tani Atoshi. And as a result, we're in perfect position to come up and score. These are some very effective ways to score with high finishes, which will become very important as you deal with better and better opponents and the traditional low finishes become more and more difficult. Our job is to get you guys taking people down reliably, people who are your own size and skill level, in a fairly short time frame. We're hoping for 3 to 6 months before you have a lot of confidence working. The primary method we're going to be pushing is the use of collar drags to take people in a forwards direction and ankle picks to knock them backwards. If we can play those two moves along with a few others that we'll show in this video, you're going to have a lot of success in the standing position in a fairly short period of time. Nonetheless, Jiu-Jitsu, of course, as we've been saying, is a competitive sport. You've got knowledgeable opponents who know what an ankle pick is. They're going to make it hard for you. So we need to do some troubleshooting for the most common problems that we're going to face when we go in for ankle picks. If there's one thing that will be the bane of your existence when you first start off ankle picking, especially when you develop a reputation as someone who likes an ankle pick, it's going to be stiff arming. Okay? Your opponent will often look to get a power hand on you like so. And if he turns the thumb down like so, and from here creates a strong, stiff, resisting arm, even if I have a power hand on him, when you come down for your pick, he's going to extend that power arm and you're never going to get close to his ankles, okay? And you're going to feel like, dude, I feel like I got an iron rod in my chest and I cannot bend his arm. He's just holding me off. He's taller than I am and he's just holding me like a child. And I'm like the guy in the cartoons trying to get a hold of him and he's just holding me off any way he feels like, okay? That can be a very frustrating thing. Please understand that this can happen in both Aiotsu situations and Kenkyotsu situations, okay? So if he's right side forward, we're both right-handed, this would be Aiotsu, as I'm sure you all figured out by now. Aiotsu situation, we've both got a right hand on, and I want this foot. He stiff arms me, steps the foot back, and I can't get to what I wanted on either side, can't get either leg. Okay, common problem. It can also occur in the Kenkyotsu situation. He's fighting lefty, and from here he gets a grip on. I try to come in either over or under. His arm feels like an iron rod in my chest. I try to get to his ankle, and you feel like, oh, dude, I'm never going to get there. This guy's longer, taller, bigger reach than me. What am I going to do? Okay, you have to have an effective strategy for this, because otherwise that will shut down your ankle lock game very quickly and in a way which will sow the seeds of frustration on your part. So what should we be doing to deal with the stiff arm problem? Okay, Aiotsu, my whole thing is get his power hand off you. Don't tolerate it. There's no reason why you should tolerate the stiff arm in your chest. Okay, if I come out and I see someone take a strong power hand grip on me like so, my first thing is always get a good grip on my training partner's cuff right here. Okay, let's come close to the camera. if I get a 3-finger grip, bottom 3 fingers in like so, okay, and I play this game, if he ever goes to move his hand on my lapel, take your hand and try and go higher to control my head, you're going to have to release it to go higher on my head. You're going to have to release to get a grip higher on my head. Whenever he goes to do that, he starts here and he goes to move to a high grip, he's giving me his hand. Once he gets a grip here, and I get this grip, that's the only grip he'll ever have. If he ever goes to move his hand, good. He's giving me the grip. Now I own his hand, okay? So if someone has an annoying stiff arm grip, okay, that's the first thing I do. I just get a grip on him. If he ever goes to move his hand, that hand belongs to me now, okay? So whatever grip he has, that's the last grip he'll have. It's never going to change from there. A lot of guys want to go from here to over the back and pull your head down, and now you're in trouble, okay? So whenever someone gets a first grip on me, that's what I do, okay? Now he goes to move the hand, he's giving me the hand. Now it belongs to me. Once we take a hand, we're pushing it across and we're looking for angle. Why? Because I want to grip here, here, or here. And as I outflank my opponent, he has to follow me. If he doesn't follow me, he's giving me a drag into the legs. So he has to follow, then he gives me what I really wanted all along, his far lapel. Okay, now I give a good pull and I switch my base, so I'm in a perfect position to come down and put him to the floor. Okay, now a natural question for you to ask is, well, what if he doesn't move his hand? What if he just stays with that hand and plays a negative game? No problem. From here, we snap it off. Don't be naive when you snap it off. Don't turn your body and he throws an arm over your back. Now he's got your back. Okay, I never turn my shoulders to him. Strong grip. I keep my chest facing him. My head is back, hips are forward. I never go like this. He reaches, he's got my back. He's got my leg. He's got whatever he wants. Okay? So he comes out, makes his grip. My chest faces him. I get my grip and I move this way. Never do I move this way and give him my back. Okay? So my chest faces him. Strong grip. Here. 2 hands on, and off it comes. When you have a really strong guy, it may take 1, 2, 3 shakes to take it off. That's perfectly normal. It's not going to come off first time every time, okay? Like so. What you're trying to do is take the hand down until it comes off, and then you know what to do. You bring it across the body. We get to our grip. I switch my base, and now I can go in on either side to put them down to the floor. Okay. Now, a natural question for you guys to be asking, well, what if we're already gripped up in the most common right versus right situation? So we both got grips on each other. What do we do now? Do I take my hand off? No. If I take my hand off, he pushes my arm by and takes my back. Okay. If you're already gripped up, you've got to break his grip with one hand. You can't go from a situation where you both got 2 hands on each other and go here. That's suicide. Okay? So if we're already gripped up, lock up, I take my hand down, I bring my head back, and I come down into a jackknifing posture. My legs bend, and all I do is just jackknife my hips back. Then I take the grip off. Okay? I want his hand in the inside position. If he grips my sleeve, I can't ankle pick. Grip. Now, when I try to ankle pick, he guides my hand and controls my hand. I can't pick. So what I want is come close to the camera. Is when I break his grip, I keep his hand inside. So when he tries to grab my wrist, he can't do it. Now I switch my base, and I'm in perfect position to put him down. Okay? So let's have a look at that again. We've got 2 hands on each other now. So however it happened, he came in, got a grip on me. I put a grip on him, and we've got 2 hands on. Look out, from this position, we start by coming down, jackknifing, and taking the grip off. Now I start pulling. We're in perfect position now to put him down to the floor. Very simple, very effective way to remove that stiff arm. Now, natural question for you guys to be asking, well, what if he's left-handed? What do I do now? Okay, he goes left hand, and he's stiff arming me. When I try to get to an ankle pick, it feels impossible. How do I deal with this? Okay, Let's understand, in the Kenki-Yotsu situation, I have a choice between going over and going under. In general, not always, but in general, under is a little easier for you to work with, okay? So if I feel a strong, stiff arm here, I go through and I grip my own jacket right below his pinky knuckle. And I take the grip off. Now I put my hand here. If he goes to throw a jab, I pass it over my shoulder. Same thing, gripping. I snap his grip off. He goes to put his hand on. I pass it over the shoulder. Every time I see him trying to put the hand on, like so. Now from here, we're in perfect position to drop him. Okay? Take the damn hand off. Don't tolerate a stiff arm in your chest. Okay? So if it's a right versus right, Iotsu situation, take it off. Kenki-Yotsu, from here, take it off. What if I'm over the top? Here. Well, then we put weight on the arm. If his hand comes up and his arm bends, it forms a frame. And I can't get through the frame. Strong. Legs back. Legs back. I can't get through the frame. I can't get to an ankle. So in these circumstances, we take our elbow across. I grip and I put my elbow inside. Sometimes when he's got a strong frame, I'll have to put his hand under my chin to get what I want. Now all my weight is on his arm. Got to lift me up. He can't. Feels like he's got the weight of the world on him. Now I step away from the leg that I want. He's got to stiff arm me. And it's so easy. Okay? Well, it's never going to be completely easy. It's easier. Okay? So he comes in, gets a grip. I'm shut out with a grip over the top. I can't get to the preferred inside under. So his arm is up high, aggressive in here. I can't get anything to work. I take the hand and I put my elbow over the top. Try to hold me up and lift me high. He feels like he's carrying the weight of the world. Okay? I step and pull, stiff arming. And we put him down to the mat. Okay? So these are some common sense gripping strategies to deal with one of the most annoying situations when you want to be a good ankle picker. That damn stiff arm in your chest. Okay? I could sit here all day and show you different ways to deal with stiff arms. When you first start off, it's really vexing, it's annoying. There's many ways to deal with it. But these are some simple, practical ones that you can start doing tomorrow. Okay? Once again, Iotsu situation, right versus right. We come out, he comes on and starts gripping up. Take it off. Even as he's gripping, take it. Take it to the side. Grip. Okay. Now in the good position, start putting people down. Okay? He comes out lefty. From here, best one, come underneath, like so. Strip it. Defend it. Don't let him come back on. Switch and pull to create the optimal situation of correlated shot hand and shot leg. If you're the guy over the top, put the hand down, put your weight over it. Go to lift me up. It's really, really difficult. Now from here, I step and pull. And as a result, we get that little pick down to the floor. Okay? Some simple, practical ways in both Iotsu and Kenki-Yotsu situations to get past that annoying stiff arm and get to your pick. If stiff arming with the power hand is the first big frustration that you're going to run into, the second big frustration you're going to find is your opponent controlling your control hand at the cuff. Now, your control hand is going to be your shot hand. And as we saw earlier in this video, you have to have a shot hand and a shot leg on the same side. Once you establish a reputation as someone who's got a good ankle pick, all of your opponents are going to start doing this. They're going to take your hand, snap it off, and from here, they're going to control your shot hand. Okay? So even if I have a grip on Giancarlo, let's get close to the camera. Even if I have a grip on him, when I try to shoot, he's just going to take my hand away and I won't be able to make contact with the leg that I want. Okay? If Giancarlo does a good job of controlling my shot hand, there's no shot. Okay? So he controls the hand here. It doesn't matter that I have a power hand. I can't get to his leg. Okay? So what are we going to do? What I'm going to recommend, don't go grip for grip with them. Okay, normally if we're gripped up like so, I want to get underneath my training partner's sleeve. Okay, if I want to hit forward throws on my training partner, typically I want to have inside under grip and I want to have the under grip on the sleeve. That's the normal state of affairs. And this provides excellent opportunity for me to start throwing people in a forwards direction, depending on what I want to do. Okay, so if I want to come forward into a given throw, that's the general pattern that we work with. Okay, but I'm not interested in a forward throw here. I'm interested in an ankle pick. Okay, if I grip with the underclasp, he's going to go on top and take what we call a 4-finger grip, where he grips with 4 fingers and locks in, probably at the cuff, like so. Okay, now once I go for an ankle pick, he's going to use the 4-finger grip to control my shot hand and prevent me from getting to his ankles. Okay, so if we were throwing people with forward throws like Seoi-nage, Uchimata, this makes a lot of sense. Okay, it's a very good grip. But if I'm ankle picking people, it's not really that good, because now when I release, he controls my shot hand and I can't get to an ankle. Okay, so what should we be doing? What I'm going to recommend is, instead of gripping the cloth, I recommend gripping the hand and the wrist. So when he goes to grip you, can't do anything, but you have control of him. So when he tries to stop my shot hand, he can't, because I'm in control of the hand that he needs to stop me with. Okay, we put him down to the floor. So here's what I generally recommend. From a situation where we start off, Kengi-Yossi situation, I go in and I secure a grip on him. Once we start dancing in these kinds of situations, I play a one-handed game. Then from here, I come down and I grip his wrist. I play one-handed, out like so, and I grip a wrist. I don't grab cloth, especially the undergrip, which is normally a good idea, because it gives him an ability to control my shot hand. Okay? So my first piece of advice to you is play a one-handed game. Okay, let's come out here. Kengi-Yossi situation. When I come out towards my training partner, I go when I get my first grip. I play one-handed. If he grips, I deny him the grip. Just don't let him grip your second hand on. And I play a one-handed game, where from here, I'll disrupt my training partner's balance. I will attack, Kouchigari. And then from these kinds of situations, I create situations where I can put him down. I play one-handed gripping. Okay? Now, natural question for you guys to ask is, well, what if he puts 2 hands on me? We get our grip, he goes over the top, and we're gripped up like so. What do I do now? Let's come close to the camera. I take my hand and I put my thumb and forefinger over his wrist, strong grip. Okay, so I go over the top and I grip. Then I pump 1, 2, 3, and his hand comes off. Strong grip. Thumb and forefinger goes over the top. Don't grab the forearm, grab the wrist. Strong. 1, 2, 3, and the hand comes off like magic. What you see is that my thumb goes up the hand as I go 1, 2, 3. He grips. First grip is on the wrist. Push it down. Push it down. Push it down until the hand comes off. Okay? Now you own your own shot hand. If he owns my shot hand, I can never get to his leg. He controls me. Okay? So, Kengi-Yossi situation, come out, first hand goes on. He gets a grip on me, and we're locked up 2 on 2. Okay? I go over, 1, 2, 3. Now, it's a simple thing for me to draw the leg in and put the man down. Okay? So this is a sensible way for us to clear that short hand. What about right versus right? We have conventional grips here. Now, it's no longer a concern. But if he comes down and starts taking his hand off my lapel and starts grabbing the cloth, now it's a problem. Now we're in what we call double sleeves. He's got both of my sleeves. Okay, same thing. Over the top, pump, 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 and it's off. Okay, I go in here, he takes his hand off, snatches the cuff. He knows I like ankle picks. He controls my hand. Circle, pump, pump, pump. Step, and pick. Okay, These are some practical ways to clear away your opponent's control of your sleeve cuff. As long as Giancarlo controls my sleeve cuff, I'm never going to get to his ankle. So I must prevent him from controlling my cuffs. Okay. First method, play one-handed. This is particularly important in the Kenkyotsu situation. From here, this is where I play from. He tries to get to my cuff, and I deny. Now I step and pull, find myself in the perfect position to put him down. Okay. If it's Iotsu, we come out, he grips, and we're playing like so, and he comes in and grabs my sleeve. Pump, pump, pump. Now we're in the perfect position to come through and knock him down. Okay? Don't tolerate your opponent's control of your short hand. You can't hit an effective ankle pick if he's controlling the short hand. Get rid of that control first, or deny it altogether before it starts, and you'll be hitting a lot of ankle picks. Now, we're looking at the idea of troubleshooting the ankle pick. My goal in this first volume of the Feet to Floor series, as I said earlier, is to get you guys hitting moves confidently against opponents your own size and skill level within 3 to 6 months. I think that's an incredibly doable goal if we follow the strictures of this video. One problem that you're going to run into when you become a good ankle picker is that opponents are going to figure out something. They're going to realize the best person to ankle pick is someone who's in a defensive, bent over, crouching posture. In the sport of jiu-jitsu, there are no restrictions on posture, movement, and grip, as there are in sambo and judo and other grappling sports. Okay? If in the sport of judo, I stood like so, and he was bent over at the waist and not doing any kind of offense from here, within a very short time frame, he would be penalized by the referee. In jiu-jitsu, there's no such penalties for this kind of behavior. And so my opponent can stay like that as long as he wants. So in the sport of jiu-jitsu, you tend to get people who tend to bend over at the waist for long periods of time. Often it's because they're afraid of an opponent pulling guard. Sometimes it's because they're not that experienced in the standing position. They don't really know what they're supposed to do. They just do what they see other people do. We saw earlier in this video that every kind of stance has its good points and bad points. An upright stance, the so-called shizuntai, or natural posture, enables us to generate good movement around the mat. Okay, so if I want to move with an opponent, this is the best way for us to generate good movement. Okay. It suffers from the disadvantage that in jiu-jitsu it exposes your hips to your opponent, so your opponent can jump guard on you. Okay. The other disadvantage is it makes it very easy for my opponent to change levels and get to my legs. That's not a problem in judo because that's not allowed, but in jiu-jitsu it's a big problem. Okay. Bent over stances are very good for preventing my opponent from jumping guard, but they put severe restrictions on mobility, and they basically limit me to pulling guard and shooting from my opponent's legs. You can't really hit many upper body throws from that bent over stance. You can't move very freely. It tends to become a rather static game with not a lot of action. The compromise is the semi-crouch, where we go between our opponents like so we can defend the lapels, I can grip fight, I can defend my legs if necessary, and I can prevent my opponent, not prevent him, but make it harder for him to pull guard by jumping his legs around my waist. Okay, so this is a nice compromise. Those are the three stances we mostly work with. Pretty soon your opponent's going to figure out that if they go full jigotai, bent over, in a full defensive crouch, it's actually pretty easy to start playing an ankle pick game. Okay, you can start putting people down quite readily because that's the easiest position for you to put their head over their foot and ankle pick them. So pretty soon they're going to start figuring out, hey, this guy likes ankle picks. I should play more upright. And as a result, you suddenly find ankle picks become a lot more difficult. If my opponent's in an upright stance and we grip up with each other, even if I take his grip off, strong body, when I try to hit an ankle pick, he's so upright that I feel like, damn, bro, I can't bring his head down. And we know the prerequisite of success with an ankle pick is to bring his head down over his foot. But when he's in this upright, confident, natural stance, it's very, very difficult. Okay? So it's important, if we're going to be masters of ankle picks, that we can break down his confident, natural, upright stance, the so-called shizuntai, and convert it into a broken, bent over jigotai stance, the defensive crouch, because that's the optimal stance for us to be hitting ankle picks. So if we come up against an opponent, and this is very common in the heavyweight divisions especially, you will see people tend to stand more upright, like so. So if I come out with an opponent, he's standing more upright, and we go in, he makes grips, we come in and we work like so, and he's in a good, confident, upright stance like this, okay? I need to be able to break his stance, okay? Some simple ways for us to do this we saw in the Kazushi section of this video. We're gonna start the notion of moving an opponent around. I'm gonna fake Kojigari and get him stepping off, okay? I'm gonna fake half Sasai. I come out to the outside, I break his stance and get him bent over. He comes back up. From situations I fake Ojigari, he goes to step out and get him bent over. Okay? I start circling and pulling, he comes upright again. From situations like this, it's not a difficult thing for us to hit the various forms of attack. A fake Sasai, for example, that gets him broken and bent over. And the second I see him broken and bent over, that's the time for us to start going back into our ankle pick attacks, okay? My rule of thumb for ankle picks is pretty simple to state. I won't attack an opponent whose torso is more than 45 degrees from the floor. That's so important, I'm going to say it to you again. I generally will not attack most forms of ankle pick. There are some exceptions, but most forms of ankle pick I will not attack on an opponent whose torso is more than 45 degrees from the floor. I will get them bent down to a minimum 45 degrees to the mat and preferably parallel with the mat. That's the best time, okay? So that's a good rule of thumb, the 45-degree rule. Right now, you can see Giancarlo has a good upright body posture, okay? As he goes to make grips, we lock up with our training partner. If I take an ankle pick from here, upright, it's gonna be hard. Put hands on me, okay? It's gonna be hard. But if I start with any one of the moves that we've been looking at, the idea of getting our man out of posture and attacking and getting him bent over, this is a good time for ankle picks, okay? All we need at this point is a quick change in stance and we're able to go through and score, okay? Why? Because I broke his posture below 45 degrees. His torso, no more than 45 degrees. If I can't do that, I will not attack an ankle pick. There's better things I can do, okay? So for example, if I see my opponent playing good upright posture, okay? We come in, we make our grips, and from here, I'm trying to bend this guy up and I can't break his posture, okay? This is the time for us, with these kinds of circumstances, to come in and start attacking other forms of attack. Ojigari, for example, okay? Putting people down using more conventional methods, upper body methods, okay? But if I want to go in and start picking my training partner's ankles, I need his body at least 45 degrees and preferably parallel with the mat. Okay, so once again, we come out, he makes grips. I see he's bulked up, right, hands on, okay? And we're trying to break this man's posture, coming in. Now from here, I come in and put him down to the mat, okay? And it's a nice, realistic way for us to operate. Obey the 45-degree rule. If his body's more than 45 degrees up, break him down first, then go for your attacks. Okay. Now, our goal is to make you highly competent in the use of ankle picks. As you start on this journey, you're going to start to realize that a big part of your ability to become competent with ankle picks has to do with your opponent's stance. If his upper body is bent over more than 45 degrees, ankle picks are a fine option. But if your opponent's body is a little more upright, it can be quite difficult now to score with ankle picks because there's too much distance between my power hand and the foot that I want. And this starts to create situations, put hands on me, it starts to create situations where from here I get separation of my head and his. To be successful with an ankle pick, I need our heads at the same level. And now I can hit an ankle pick. If his head is far above mine, now you get situations where you have no ability to finish the shot. And he has a strong ability to counter you, for example, by stepping over with Jujigatami and causing all kinds of problems for you. Okay, so what are we to do? One of my favorite things to coach with regards to ankle picks, especially in the sport of jiu-jitsu, is the idea of seeing the special relationship between knee picks and ankle picks. This relationship can be stated in a single sentence, and once you hear the sentence, you'll become much more effective in the standing position if you're going to specialize in ankle picks. If you cannot break your opponent's head down over his foot and create the ideal conditions for an ankle pick, switch to a knee pick. Whenever your opponent denies you an ankle pick with an upright stance, he will be open to a knee pick. And whenever he denies you a knee pick by bringing his head down and blocking your attempt to get to the legs, he will be open to an ankle pick. And so you play these two as a simple dilemma. The more upright he is, the more I will go for the knee pick, Kuchiki Dayoshi. The more bent over he is, the more I will go for the ankle pick, Kubisu Gaeshi. Okay? So once again, you see it, guys, how incredibly important understanding stance is to the standing game. Okay, it's such a big deal. So as we come out towards our training partner, we'll start it off right versus right situation. I also like so. He comes in and makes a grip. From here, I shrug his grip off. Okay. Now we want to get hands on this fellow. So we start bouncing to the outside flank position. We put hands on. I see he keeps an upright posture as he puts hands on me. We're in a situation now where I would love to get him bent over and create a situation where I can ankle pick. He knows that. Perhaps he knows that ankle picking is one of my favorite moves. And so when I start moving him, I see him in an upright posture. Now from here, I'm going to go in and knee pick. I bring my head through like so. Don't bring your head in the middle. This is not a single leg. Okay? My head goes underneath. He goes to sprawl, runs right into this movement here. Okay? My drive leg goes up, and we put him down with a knee pick. Okay? The only way a guy can defend knee picks is with head position. Okay? If he goes for a knee pick on me, and my head is in here, he's never going to get to a knee pick. If my head is upright, his head goes under, he'll get to a knee pick all day. Okay? So the way you block knee picks is with head position. Okay? He goes for a knee pick. Can't do it. Okay? So if I find, grip up, I come in here and he stops my knee pick with head position, this is the ideal time for us to start going into ankle picks. Because now his posture is in that bent over position that makes ankle picks so easy. And we can take advantage of the long reach of an ankle pick and put him down. So we play a really simple dilemma game. We come out right versus right. He comes in, makes his grip. We come through and push it off. I see he's playing upright posture. Okay, I try to pull, try to break his posture, can't do it, can't get to my ankle pick. So I come straight in and we hit a nice knee pick down to the floor, Kuchiki Dayoshi. So essentially what we do here is we play a dilemma game based around our opponent's head position. Once we come out right versus right situation and we start snapping our training partner's grip off, I look at my opponent's head position. If the head is upright, okay, we're in a situation where I start pulling my training partner and I feel like I cannot pull the head down to 45 degrees, he's more upright. This is the perfect time. The leg is open for Kuchiki Dayoshi, the knee pick. There's nothing between me and his knee. So I start that motion of driving in and getting to our training partner's knee. We pull down, drive, and put him down to the floor. The only way he's going to have a good chance of stopping that is with head position. So as he comes out and makes grips, we shrug everything off. And then from here, he puts the head down low. Okay. Now it's hard for me to hit the previous move. So under these circumstances, we give a step and pull, and now we come in and we start hitting inputs instead. So in a realistic combat situation, we start off, we come out towards our training partner, and he goes on right versus right. We start snapping the grip off. From here, I see him in an upright stance. We go driving him through and place him down with Kuchiki Dayoshi. Now he does a good job with the head position, shutting us out. We come out right versus right. We snap his grip off. And from here, we start drawing the man around the corner. Now from here, we come all the way through the cat and drive our man straight down to the mat. Okay. Please understand that this dilemma goes both ways. If I feel we're out here, he makes grips, and we go through, and I feel I get him bent over. But before I can hit the ankle pick, the head starts to rise. Then this is the perfect time for us to go across either inside knee pick or outside knee pick. In general, I tend to favor inside knee picks, okay? Because it lands you more across your opponent's side instead of inside your opponent's guard. So I have a general preference for the inside knee pick. But please understand, you can hit a pretty good knee pick on the outside too. It's a good move. He's in here gripping. We snap everything off, and I feel he's in an upright stance. It's a good move to come straight through and pick on the outside. It's not quite as efficient as an inside pick, but still pretty good. If we understand the relationship between head position and the knee pick and the ankle pick, you're going to create a dilemma where as your opponent prevents you from scoring one, you can always score the other. The first takedown we're going to look at is the double leg takedown or Marotagari, which is very, very applicable in the sport of jiu-jitsu. This generates no back exposure if we keep our good posture. If we lose our posture, there will be back exposure. There is some neck exposure, but with the gi on, it's less than it would be in a no-gi context. There is some belt exposure. So we, again, have to be cognizant of our opponent's hand position and our body position. But if we play our game right, this can be a very, very effective part of your curriculum when you first start off in standing position. The first way we're going to apply this is right versus right, open position. So neither one of us has a grip on the other. As we start off at distance, we prepare our gi. The first thing I look at is I study my opponent, and I see he's right-handed and I'm right-handed. So this is an IL-2 situation. Okay. From here, we know our game. We want to start neutralizing our opponent's lead hand. So we're going to come out and start playing with the lead hand. Okay. Now I'm going to fake a grip. So what do you think your opponent's going to do? He's going to go to block it. Okay. So we're playing a game where we come out and we touch his hand and we start faking for grips upstairs. Like I'm going to go over the top and grip. Like I'm going to go to a lapel and grip. So of course, what does he start doing? Starts putting hands up to defend his lapels. So we come out towards our training partner. I'm reading, and I see he's right-handed. And from here, I block his power hand, and I start trying to assert my hand, like so. Then I see my opportunity. I level change, and right from here, I go through, connect right to my training partner's body. From here, my favorite place to grip is right behind the knees, like so. Okay, when he goes to sprawl in this position, my body's upright, sprawling. So my body's upright, I carry the weight. Then I just start a quick turn where I pivot my foot out like so, turn, and we rotate his hips down to the floor, and we end up on top of our training partner's legs. My head goes to face him. Now, if he stays on his hips, side or back for 3 seconds, I score. So what do you think he's going to be looking to do? He's going to be looking to get back up. So it's important for us that we stay on top of the legs, okay? So that from here, as he goes to turn, we'll be in a position to take advantage of back exposure. He goes up. Now we'll be in a position where we can either score with the takedown or score with the back position. We're happy either way. In fact, you're probably happy with back position, you double your score. So once again, our first Marotagari or double leg attack involves a fake setup for grip fighting. I nullify his power hand and I fake with my power hand. As he goes to block, I come down, everything comes down to the level of his belt, and we go straight on in and capture. Okay? As he goes to sprawl, my body's upright. If my body was down and he sprawls, my body loses position. Now there's back exposure, he goes behind, and I'm in trouble. Okay? He may not score on that in jiu-jitsu, but he's definitely got a good position. Okay? So we want our body relatively upright to limit neck exposure and back exposure. We come out towards our man, nullify the power hand, and from here, faking the grip fight. Just like so. Then from open position, we go straight on in and score. He goes to sprawl, my body's upright, we turn the corner and put his hips down to the floor and end up in good position. Okay? This is a very simple way to use Marotagari from the open position to get your first scores. Again, we're looking at the IL-2 situation, but this time my opponent has grips on me. Okay, so as we start off with our training partner, we come out towards our man, and he comes in and successfully applies a grip like so. Okay, we take a hold of our training partner's hand, as we've talked about in the grip fighting sections, and from here, I snap the grip off and I start flanking my opponent. If he doesn't react, I'm going to go towards his back. It's not a good thing for him. So you know what they're going to do. They're all going to turn and face you, like so. Okay, that's what we're looking for. We get the flank and they try to recover. We come out towards our training partner. He comes in, we lock up. From this position, we move around with each other. From here, I snap the grip off. I start moving to the flank. He comes in, we're in perfect position now to go straight into our training partner and come up on the other side and put the man down to the floor. So we use a flanking attack to set up the double leg. He's in front of us, he comes through and makes us a grip. I come down, cuff. My body and stance is in order. My stance is broken and he pulls. My stance gets broken. It's going to be me who gets taken down here. So he comes in and makes a grip. Immediately we come in like so. I snap the grip off. I start threatening the angle. Now we're in perfect position to go straight on through and capture the man in our double leg. Okay, very simple, very effective way to use our grip fighting to set up Marote Gari, the double leg. Now, this is one of my favorite takedowns. One of my favorite setups to a double leg takedown with a gi. I come out right versus right situation. From here, I offer a cuff to my opponent. He takes the bait. I go through, cross cuff grip. I use the Roman salute to snap the grip off, and I give a little pull to square the man up. As a result, we're in perfect position to go in on our training partner and then turn the corner to put the man down to the floor. Remember, guys, a double leg is best done on a square opponent. If my opponent's staggered, face the camera, he's got a deep stagger. If I come in on a staggered opponent, my right arm is too long. He goes to sprawl, and I don't have good control on the right side. And as a result, I lose the leg. The best time to hit double legs is on a squared opponent who's completely square. Now, it's easy to get a hold of both of my training partner's legs. When he goes to sprawl from here, it's easy for us to keep our upright body posture and put him down to the mat. So we've got an opponent here in front of us. He's right hand stance. From here, I give him a little bait. I come through, cross grip. I pull and square the man up. He goes to yank that grip away from me, and that's exactly what we're looking for. We go straight on in. Now the leg comes up, turn, and put him down to the floor. One more time. I want to square this man up. From here, we're in position. I give him something, a little bit of honey. From here, pull and square the man. Now we're in perfect position to go straight on in. We lock up, turn, and then we go to the floor. Okay? Cross cuff, very effective setup to a double leg. Now, we've seen that the double leg is best done on someone who's squared up. Very easy to hit a double leg on someone who's square, quite difficult to hit it on someone who's staggered. Okay? He stands right stance. I know that it's naive for me to reach with my power hand, and now he goes to throw me, and I'm done. Okay? So I want to use the reverse hand to get my grips. Normally, reverse hand goes to the right shoulder, but we're going to go to the left and take a cross grip here. The cross grip lets me square him up, and as a result, we're in perfect position to go on through and attack our training partner. So once again, right versus right. From here, I play the hand fight game. Now I go in, I take reverse power hand, cross grip. As a result, I can square him up. As he goes to yank away from the grip, I go straight on in and lock. And as a result, we end up with a perfect double leg takedown. Once again, right versus right situation. From standing position, I go cross grip. I pull. He pulls back and gives us the perfect entry into the legs. Very simple, very effective way to square someone up and get you a double leg. Now, one of the greatest setups for any double leg is always an arm drag. This works equally well, both gi and no gi. But the gi setup requires some knowledge of the grip fighting game, as we saw it earlier in this video. So, from right versus right, my opponent comes out and makes grips. We're going to do what we always do. Sleeve cuff, just in like so. We play the standing game. From this position, we snap the grip off, we come in, we get an angle. He goes to square up, I come in, I hit that drag position. As I drag, my opponent's weight gets taken forward, he goes to square position, and we lock up and go right into the legs for a quick finish. Okay? So I can't be naive and use a wrestling setup to an arm drag in a gi situation. The gi changes everything. Okay? So we lock up just like so. From here, we move, snap the grip off. I fight for my angle. He goes to square up in defense, and now we're in perfect position to drag the arm on by and lock. Now, second leg comes around, and we're in perfect position to put that man down to the floor. So once again, arm drag, right versus right situation. From here, I focus on my first grip. I snap the grip off, run to my angle, and we go straight in on the legs. Very, very effective way of setting up your double leg, Marote Gari, from the gi situation. Right versus right. Now, one of the best times for us to hit double legs is in any vociferous grip fighting situation where your opponent is pulling away from you. Okay? If my opponent doesn't react to the grips that I get, you start moving the opponent. It's terrible for him. Okay? It's intimidating to be pulled around the mat by someone who knows what they're doing. So what do you think they all start doing? Okay? If I go in and get a grip on a training partner, they all start yanking away. Okay? Say, for example, a guy gets a grip on my sleeve. I'm going to pull away from it. Okay? I go in here, he taps the hand off. Like so, it's a common thing. If someone feels this, they get intimidated. And they all start breaking grips. Someone gets my sleeve, I pull away. Common. Okay? People make mistakes when they pull away. They should stay with their chest facing. Okay? The chest should always face the opponent. So as I pull away, like so. But what they all start doing is pulling like this and exposing themselves. That's what we're looking for. So we're going to come out with a training partner, and from here I make a grip. I see him go to yank away, and I follow the hand right on in. And as a result, we're in a good position to hit a double leg. Okay? So many ways we can hit this. I come in and I grip. He yanks out and leaves us what we wanted all along, a good entry into the legs. Okay? From situations where I come in here and I see him reaching, I go under and we go straight into our training partner's legs. When he's concerned with grip breaks, the body is left undefended. So I come out, he goes to strip, and we go straight in. He goes to strip, and we go straight in. We can use this anytime you feel pullbacks. Okay? I pull, he pulls back, enter, and put him down. This is a very simple and very effective way to set up your double leg in a gi. Everything we've done so far in the IELTS situation presupposed that there was no real grip upon us when we actually shot for the double leg. So for example, if my opponent has a grip on me here, we saw the idea of breaking the grip off so that when he squares up, we can release and we go in on the legs. Okay? All the shots we've seen so far involved getting to a grip and then relinquishing the grip so we can shoot. The natural question for you guys to be asking is, well, if we're in the most common situation in Jiu-Jitsu, where we both have grips on each other, can I hit my double leg? The answer is yes, but it's a little more complicated, okay? So we're right versus right in here, the most common gripping situation in the sport of Jiu-Jitsu, combat stance, or in mix-up, okay? His power arm can cause problems for me. If I just naively shoot and he stiff arms me, I'm never going to get to his legs. As long as he has his hand in my shoulder, strong, I'll never get through close distance to his legs. And I can be counted here. Okay, he can spin behind me and strangle me, all kinds of things. Okay. So normally what we do is we take the hand off. Okay. Normally from here what we're looking to do is snap the hand off so we can shoot without that damn power arm. However, if my opponent takes a high grip, like so, or even if he takes a conventional grip down like so, if I can turn my elbow close to my ribs, stance, and then from here I start moving my training partner, I can take everything over my body and pull in a way where I beat the power arm. And as a result, we're in position. What this requires from you as a developing athlete is the ability to drop and pull everything over your head, like so. Okay, so solo, if you were working a solo drill here, I would start staggered, I would go square, and I would pull everything forward. As his body goes over my head, we go double leg situation, okay? So right versus right, he comes out, makes grips. I go through, I take a high grip up here on my training partner's sleeve. Now, as we play, I take my head forward. I might even take his hand over my shoulder so that I can get my second hand on. Now as we play in this position, strong body, we're playing this position. Look how from here, I just take everything down and we go right into our training partner's legs. I want him to be bent over so that I get into a good lifting position on his hips. So right versus right, I lock up. We're playing here in standing position. I take the hand over, lock up. I start moving the man and square him up. From the squared position, we pull right in, and we're in perfect position now to put that man down to the floor, either forwards, or coming in like so and taking him in a backwards direction. So one more time, right versus right situation. He comes out, I go body, cloth. From the cloth, right versus right, I pass the hand, I get my second hand on, and then right from here, we go straight into the legs. He goes to sprawl, our body's so upright, we put him down quite easily. And this is an effective way for you guys to get to your double leg, even when he has solid grips on you. Okay, every double leg we've looked at so far has been from the Iotsu situation, right versus right. The natural question for you guys to be asking is, what if my opponent's left-handed? Comes out lefty, okay? We know from our grip fighting section that it's permissible for us to start putting the power hand on first in Kenkyotsu. This would not be recommended if it were Iotsu. Now he can go in and attack my exposed power hand with a simple rotation, okay? When he stands Kenkyotsu, the rotation is so big now that it's easy for me to counter as he tries to make such a big rotation, okay? We also know that double legs are best done on an opponent that we're squared up. It's hard to do it on someone who's in a staggered stance. The problem with Kenkyotsu is he's in a staggered stance. So we need to do something about that. I'm going to take my power hand, and instead of going to the straight lapel, I'm going to go across to the cross lapel. Okay, so from the grip fight situation, I come out with my training partner and I fence my hand in just like so. Now I'll give a little pull. Okay, as I make my pull, I want to square him up by drawing the rear leg in, just like so. Now I'm in perfect position to go straight on through and lock into our training partner's legs and get a win with the double leg. So once again, Kenkyotsu situation. From here, I come out, I fake the hand fight, I go straight on through, cross grip. I give a little pull and square the man up. And as a result, we can go right in and get to our double leg. Again, Kenkyotsu situation, cross grip method. Fake the hand fight, cross grip, pull. Straight on in, locking, and scoring our takedown. Very simple, very effective method of scoring the double leg in the Kenkyotsu situation. Now, one of my favorite ways to get into a double leg in the Kenkyotsu situation, my opponent comes out, gets a power grip, okay? From here, I'm going to go through, I'm going to fake the sleeve, he goes to pull away. I come up and I lock onto my training partner's body like so. Got to be careful of this. Now my opponent has my sleeve. If he can turn my shoulders, he can throw me, okay? So it's important under these circumstances, he gets a grip, I get my grip. I want to take my hand down and get a good grip all the way on his hand. Don't grab the wrist, it's not adequate. I want to take my thumb all the way to the bottom of his hand and push his hand across the body and snap the grip off. And as a result, I take the hand down. Now I take a step and pull, and I square my man up. I'm in the perfect position to go straight through now and score my double leg. So once again, Kenkyotsu situation. From here, he comes out and makes a grip. Okay, I go through on my training partner and I take a grip on my training partner's opposite lapel. My hand goes like so to his forearm. I take a step back and I set my hand all the way down by the apple of the hand. This is the apple of the hand. If I grab the wrist, it's inadequate. I want to grab the apple of the hand. So when he grips, I can turn it and break the grip. It's like I want to expose his watch to my opposite lapel. You will not be able to do this on the wrist. So put your hand on, take a step back, put it in place, and break the grip. Kenkyotsu. Grip, my hand goes to his hand. Don't try and do it stationary. Take a step back, break the grip across, pull, and you're in perfect position to go on through for your double leg. So once again, Kenkyotsu situation. He comes out, makes a grip. I get my grip. We move from here. My hand comes in, all the way back. Snap the grip off, and double leg. Very simple, very effective way in Kenkyotsu to get you a double. Now, when we're looking at this idea of setting up double legs in Aiotsu and Kenkyotsu situations, you'll remember from earlier on in this video when we talked about the Kenkyotsu situation, the idea of our general movement towards our opponent's center line. Okay, the idea is that when my opponent comes out towards me and we hand fight, we can fence our hand in. Now, as he goes to get a grip on me, I have a power hand and he just has a sleeve hand. Okay, from situations like this, we can start pulling him back behind us. We use the play of the gi. Remember, guys, the gi is not skin tight to your opponent. You can move it in ways that set up good motion. I can push on my training partner's shoulder. I can pull across the center line. I can pull my elbow behind me and generate great motion with our training partner. In the Kenkyotsu situation, it is fully permissible for me to come out and assert my power hand first. If my opponent was Aiotsu, it would not be advisable for me to start reaching with the power hand now and get thrown by a skilled opponent. Okay? But Kenkyotsu, it's just fine. So as we come out towards our training partner, we settle into semi-crouch position. From here, we begin the hand fight and we get our first grip. Now, immediately from here, I move towards the center line. I use the slack in my training partner's jacket to create a situation where we're in perfect position now to go straight on through and capture our training partner right in behind the legs. Okay, so once again, Kenkyotsu situation, one of my favorite setups to a double leg takedown out of the grip fight. We move in towards our training partner. From here, I fence my hand in, and then from this position, I start that movement that creates the perfect entry into our training partner's legs. Very simple, very fast, and very effective. So here we have an opponent in front of us. I come out semi-crouch. I'm reading my opponent. Yes, this is a Kenkyotsu situation. I come in, I defend my lapels. He goes for my grips, gripping. We're playing. There's my grip on him. Now from here, I start that motion that squares him up and gives us the perfect entry into our training partner's legs. Okay, so once again, Kenkyotsu situation, semi-crouch. From here, I go through and fence my hand in place. Now, we've squared him up. Perfect position. We go forward to our training partner and score our double leg. Very fast, very simple, and very realistic way to get your opponent's legs in Kenkyotsu. Okay guys, now we're going to change our focus from double leg into the single leg. The first thing I want you guys to understand is the difference between applying a single leg takedown without a gi and a single leg takedown with a gi, because the way in which they're employed is quite different. One of the most common mistakes that I observe in gi takedowns is people using wrestling setups where the idea is to work without a gi in a gi context, and it kind of throws things off. You must remember the grips are much more robust when you have a gi on, and standard wrestling setups typically don't do well when someone's gripping your lapels, sleeves, etc. In addition, you're wearing a belt, unlike wrestling, and if your opponent gets a hold of the belt, they can hit you with some very strong counters as you're trying to attempt a single leg. So we need to modify things accordingly. In a wrestling context, we'll often use no gi grips to dominate arms like so. Okay, and you'll see people try and use this in a gi situation where people are holding the lapels, and it kind of turns into a disaster. Okay, you can't really get the grips that you normally use. If we were going no gi, this would be fine. Okay, and I could pull my training partner around the corner. I could come in and attack the single leg situation. Okay, because in wrestling, I'm not wearing a belt. I don't have to worry about that. As long as my body is upright, he goes to sprawl, I can carry his weight. And then from here, I come typically up off the floor and we work from this position. Okay, now that can get very difficult when my opponent has lapel grips and we're working like so. Okay, sleeve cuff. Now he's controlling my sleeve cuff. When I get my inside tie, he closes his elbow and I can't even be effective with my inside tie. When I try to shoot, he's controlling my sleeve cuff and he guides my body away, and now I'm in a dreadful situation underneath my training partner. Even if I did get to the leg, my belt's exposed. And when I come up, he can throw me now with Uchimata, or sumigaeshi and cause all kinds of problems. Okay, so we need to modify things when it's time to work without the gi. Another problem, by the way, is neck exposure. I come up on a single leg and he puts in a cross grip, whips my head around, and now I'm in a loop strangle. Okay, it's yet another problem associated with the gi and single legs. So what are we going to do with regards to single legs? The major difference is we want some kind of lapel grip. Okay, why is this so important? Well, it creates situations where if I attack my single leg, I can bring his head down with me. If I don't have head control, when I attack my single leg, I have to keep my posture up, like so, but his head stays up in a position where he can access my belt very, very easily. Okay, but if I took a lapel grip nice and high up here, and I went into a move where I bring his head down, now when he goes hunting for my belt, it's all wrong. When he goes into any kind of standard defense, it's hard when everything's bent over like this. And it's very easy for me now to come up off the floor and attack. Okay? So the general rule is I want to control his head through the lapel when we work the single leg with the gi on. With regards setups, we're going to use the same grip fighting strategies that we've been looking at throughout this video. When he takes lapel grips, rather than working with basic no gi grips here or here, we want to make sure we're working like so. Okay, now I get a good grip on my training partner. When I get my man stepping, he goes to defend himself from here. You're controlling two hands versus none. And as a result, it's very easy for us to go around the corner and start coming up into positions where I control him. Okay? So the general difference is the setups are the same grip fighting setups that we've been looking at in our grip fighting series in this video. Not grip fighting setups that are appropriate for no gi work. This is a great setup for no gi. It's hopeless if my opponent's closing me out like so. He just stiff arms me, I'll never get to a single leg. Okay? You've got to be able to take grips off and work in situations like this. Now I can enter into the single leg. Now I can come up and go to work. Okay? Conversely, I must do my best to control his head whenever possible. The best method of doing so is a lapel grip, which creates situations where I bring the head down. So our heads are the same level. If his head is high, he can access my belt, he can access my neck, do all kinds of things. Okay? But if his head is the same height as my head, when I come up, we're going to be in good position to make things very, very uncomfortable for our opponent in the single leg situation. So that's the primary difference between applying the single leg with a gi and without a gi. Now we're going to look at a whole bunch of ways to use this in a practical context. Okay, let's start giving you guys the skills that are required to start taking people your own size and skill level down in 3 to 6 months, courtesy of the single leg. Let's start off in the IELTS situation, the most common, because most people are right-handed. From here, we come out right versus right situation. My opponent comes out, makes his grips. We go through, we get a good cuff grip on our training partner, and from this situation, I snap the grip off. I start moving to an angle. I put my second hand on. My head goes towards his opposite shoulder. I shake my hand in. Now, I need to switch my stance. I'm standing right side forward. As I step, I pull, and my stance switches. Okay, that's going to create the ideal situation for me to come in and control my training partner and bring the head down to the same height as my head. My hand is above his knee here. My head is up, back straight, hand in, pulling his head down. I come in by putting my foot to my knee and walking towards his opposite leg. So we get good control of our opponent's leg just like so. Okay, so once again, IL2 situation. My opponent comes in, makes his grip. We get a hold, just like so. I snap my training partner's grip off. From here, we start dancing. We get our second grip on. I start pulling my training partner. We end up like so, switching my stance. So I was right foot forward. As I step, I switch. Now I come straight on in, make contact, pull down on the head. So his head's roughly the same height as mine. I come in one, I walk towards the opposite leg, and we're in good position. From here, many ways for us to go. What I like to do is start by getting his hand to the floor. If he grips my sleeve, okay, hard for me to make switches from here. I can't go to a double leg. If I try to go to a double leg and he holds the sleeve, I can't. So what I do is I put his hand on the mat by rotating and putting pressure forward. Now as Giancarlo comes back up, I walk and I drop and I go forward to get the second leg. So once again, IOTSU situation, he gets a grip. I go in, I get my grip. I snap his grip off, I bring the hand across the body, and I come in just like so. Now I step to the outside and I go around the corner and pick up my training partner's leg. I bring his head down so I can come up off the floor. He grabs my sleeve, I rotate and bring his hand down to the mat. As his hand comes down to the mat, I walk back and away and I draw his leg in. Now there's nothing on my sleeve, so I can go forward and put him down. Once again, single leg situation. My opponent comes out. IOTSU, snap the grip off. Rotate, grip, step and circle. From here, I go around the corner, and there's my lock. His hand comes down to the mat. We come up off the floor. I put his hand down to the mat. As he straightens up, I walk backwards, lower my level, and catch the second knee to put him down. Okay, IOTSU situation, we've both got grips on each other. He comes out, makes grips. I go through, my second hand comes on, and now he gets a grip on me. So we both have the same grips. Okay, I've got right sleeve lapel, he's got right sleeve lapel. From here, I put my head down and snap his grip off. So now I got power grips on him, he doesn't have power grips on me. As a result, we're in the perfect position to start going around the corner. Just like all the other times, we go in, catch, and pull the head down towards the floor. This time I come up off the mat and lock. I put his hand down on the mat, but he recovers quickly, comes back up. I step across his body and I walk the opposite way. And as a result, we can score a nice dump to the mat. This is a misdirectional dump, where you take in one direction and then misdirect to come back the opposite way. He comes in and locks up. From here, I bring my second hand on. We've got grips on each other. I start the action of circling, pushing the grip off. I circle some more. There's my outside step, and we lock. I come up. I put his hand on the mat. As he comes up, I circle the other way with the misdirection, and we score. One more time. From here, he goes in. I get my grip. I take my hand, lock on board. He gets his. I snap his grip off. Now from here, I start to form angle. I bring my body around the corner and everything goes straight in like so. Now I come up off the floor. I walk his hand to the mat. As he goes to recover, I come back the opposite way and walk him down to the floor. A very simple way to misdirect and dump our opponent down to his back. Okay, right versus right situation. We're here in front of our training partner. I offer up a free gift to my training partner. Okay, so I come out right versus right. I notice, yep, IOTSU situation. I give an offering. From the offering, I go through and grip. I use that to take my opponent's foot forward. As a result, we're in perfect position to go straight on in and lock. Now, as I come up off the floor, we're in good position to get to our single leg. From the single leg, I walk to bring his foot in towards me. I don't want to stay here forever because he's got belt. And I don't have control of his head this time. So this is not the time to be delaying. I walk back and draw his leg in towards me. As a result, we're in perfect position to level change, lock, put our man down to the mat. So once again, IOTSU situation, I give an offering. I go through, Roman salute, and pull. There's my leg. Grip, pull. Now I go straight on in and lock. I come up off the floor. Don't want to delay too much this time because I've given him belt exposure. Okay. I step to bring him in. Then I just drop and reach out for the lock double. So simple, so effective. Great way to get to a leg. IL-2 situation, fake, offering, grip, move and pull. Everything comes down, we lock. We come up off the floor, we've got it. When I release, I don't want to wait forever. So as I release, I'm walking backwards already. I pendulum down, lock, and put him down to the floor. Very simple, very effective. Now, double sleeves is a very effective way to enter into our training partner's legs. Let's make a distinction between 3-finger grips to our training partner's cuffs, which are very good for pushing, versus 4-finger grips to our training partner's cuffs, which also are good for pushing, but which push where the watch wraps to the wrist. 3-finger, I go to the bottom of the wrist. 4-finger, I go on top of the wrist. So if he has a grip, look out from here, I change direction, and I've got a very good grip on my opponent. He takes a lapel grip, I go in over the top, and from here, I punch the grip off. Now you got double cuffs, okay? So, from right versus right situation, okay? I'm gonna play a trick on my opponent. As my opponent comes out and takes his lapel grip, I'm gonna put a hand on, I'm gonna grip my own gi, I'm gonna switch my stance to break his grip. Now I come back and I offer him the second lapel. I put my second hand on and I stretch my body out and I break it off. Now I circle and pull to bring his leg around the corner. I'm in the perfect position to go down and lock. When he tries to get any form of stranglehold, I'm controlling the sleeve. When he tries to go for any form of throw, I'm controlling the sleeve. And as a result, I can quickly come up to my feet. Once we get to our feet in this situation, many ways for us to act, okay? But what I normally like to do is circle my opponent and threaten his balance in this direction. As he goes to recover, I just come right back in the opposite direction and put him down. So once again, we start off like so. He comes in, takes a grip. I go 4-finger, my own lapel. I switch my stance and break the grip off. Now I come back, offer him my lapel. Second hand comes on, stiffen, pull the leg around the corner. Now we're in perfect position to go through and lock. Now I come up. He goes for any kind of defense. You're controlling the hand. Very difficult for him to throw you now. We're in perfect position now to offset his balance in one direction. He goes to recover, and then we take him in the opposite. So simple, so effective. As useful as single legs are in the IL-2 situation, they really come into their own in the Kenkyotsu situations, because you can really draw your opponent's leg in towards you and start getting some pretty easy scores. Kenkyotsu, from here, I'm going to come out, and I know now it's safe for me to put a power hand on first, Kenkyotsu. It wouldn't be prudent for me to put a power hand on in the IL-2 situation first. A skilled opponent might throw you here. You can get away with that with a bad opponent, but a good opponent will punish you here. Okay? Kenkyotsu, it's not so difficult for us to go in and get this grip, and it's pretty safe. We know that our general movement here is towards our opponent's center line. Okay? What I want to do is draw this leg towards me. You guys know the rule of the puppet master. Whenever I want a leg to come towards me, we step away from it and pull. That's how you maneuver your opponent like a puppet master using his strings. So we come out, Kenkyotsu. From here, I fence my hand in and lock. Now, from here, we start dancing towards the center line. Now I take a big step back and I pull. And as a result, we're in perfect position now to sweep around our training partner's leg. I come around the corner and lock up. His head comes down towards the floor as always, and we come up off the floor like so. Okay? A second option Also, very useful from this position. We come in towards our training partner, we get our grip. We dance towards the center line, we maneuver our training partner's leg around the corner, and right from here, I come around, I bring the head down towards the floor, my hand's gonna come down to the ankle, and I'm just gonna switch my knees, and I'm just gonna pull my training partner's leg. And as a result, we get a good off balance and back exposure. And as a result, we can go in and attack our opponent's back. Both great options, okay? So once again, from here, I fence my hand in. I start using motion. I step, pull. Now, we're in perfect position to bring the head down and start coming up. You guys know the finishes from here. We fake in one direction, we come back the other, and score. Very, very useful. Now we're going to move on to another takedown, which I personally favor a lot. I actually prefer this to the single leg takedown. I know the single leg takedown is probably the most common and popular takedown in the sport of jiu-jitsu. In my opinion, the one we're about to look at, the knee pick or Kuchiki Daoshi, is actually the superior option for a range of reasons that I'll discuss as we go through it. I think it's uniquely well suited to the gi game. It's relatively simple, and I think most people tend to score with it better than they do conventional single legs, as we've seen them already. The basic idea behind Kuchiki Daoshi is to pick my opponent's knee. In the majority of cases with a gi, it'll be from the inside. Whenever you go to knee pick, the basic option is between picking from the outside versus picking from the inside. Okay. Whenever we work with a jacket, you're going to get tremendous abilities to sink weight onto a given leg. Okay. So if my opponent's standing Kenkyotsu, it's going to be pretty easy for us under these circumstances to start putting weight on a leg. How do you know you put weight on the leg? By his head position. When I operate with the lapel or the over back grip, it's pretty easy for us to start putting his head over the leg. And then rather than going to a single leg, we just keep our hand on his upper body. And from here, it's going to be pretty easy for us to pick our training partner's knee. And then from here, come through into a strong finish, okay? The first grip that we're going to look at is my personal favorite grip. We're going to come close to the camera. This grip is a rear deltoid grip. You'll notice in the gi, there's a bunch of cloth at the rear deltoid, which forms a very grippable surface. It gives you tremendous purchase over the rear deltoid. I don't go too high. Now his shoulder is free. He moves his elbow and you can see the shoulder is free. But when I grip right here behind the rear deltoid, there's a flap of cloth that completely controls the shoulder. Make a strong resistant body moving away from me. And now the shoulder is completely controlled. Even when he tries to peel away, I'm going to have an ability to pull a leg in and then from here go into variations of Kuchiki Daoshi. You can see his head is right over his leg. And that's going to make it very easy for us to come in and start putting people down. Okay? So I'm going to demonstrate it first out of my favorite grip, the rear deltoid grip. One of the reasons why I favor the rear deltoid grip so much for jiu-jitsu purposes is because so many of our opponents in jiu-jitsu stand in exaggerated bent over stances. Okay? In judo, a stance like that would quickly get you penalized, but in jiu-jitsu, it's just fine. So we have an opponent in a radical bent over stance. That will always expose his rear deltoid to me. From the Kenkyotsu situation, I'm going to shoot my hand over his back and fix up my grip. Even if he puts a hand on me now, it means nothing. I'm going to dance and put weight over my training partner's leg so I can come in and pick my training partner's knee. You can see the grip strategy. I come in and grip. My fingers lock into the fabric of the cloth and we control our training partner's shoulder. Most of the time, your opponent's going to want to get a grip on you. If he doesn't get a grip on you, there's no reason why I can't snap my opponent's hands down towards the floor and expose his back. So what most of your opponents are going to do is get a grip so that I can't bring his head down to the floor. Now I go in and I pick my training partner's knee. My knee comes down, second leg comes up as a drive leg, and down he goes to the floor with Kuchiki Daoshi. So, realistically, Kenkyotsu situation. I come out, I read my training partner's stance. I see he's in an exaggerated bent over stance. I go in, get my first grip. He latches onto me. If he doesn't latch onto me, no reason why I can't take him forward in this direction. He latches on, look how I pull and I bring his leg to me. Now I'm in perfect position to go straight on through. The pick is going to be at the knee rather than the ankle. I just demonstrated an ankle pick there. But most of the time for Kuchiki Daoshi, I pick at my training partner's knee, right here. He goes to sprawl the leg back, go. Very, very, and it adds to the amplitude of the throw. It's not really a throw, it's a takedown. So once again, right versus right. I go in, I score my grip. I start circling and pulling. I go in on my training partner, I pick at the knee. Look how I pull, my head goes under his armpit. I don't bring my head in the middle. My head goes here on the outside. Now I pull, I use my drive leg, and we score a nice takedown, usually ending up in pretty good position after the throw. It's much faster than a normal single leg. And my experience of teaching is people pick this up faster than they do single legs. One of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of single legs with a gi is because there's a lot of time spent in positions like this. And you get a lot of resistance here. Guys throw you a sumigeshi, they go for kimura, do all kinds of things, okay? I'm not a big fan of hanging out in this position. But in Kuchiki Daoshi, the minute you make contact, he goes straight down to the mat. So we're gonna start off. I come out, I read my opponent. I see he's fighting left, I'm standing right. So it's a Kenkiyotsu situation. I bring my head down to match his. I go over the top and grip. I'm taking advantage of his bad stance, okay? If he stood upright, it's difficult for me to go over the top. He can block. But when he's down on this bent over stance, when he tries to reach, it's hard for him to make a reach. If he's an idiot, it lets me put a hand on with no hands on me, snap down. If he's smart, he'll grip. Now I circle. Now I'm in perfect position to go in and lock. I've got a drive leg. I've got a grip at the knee. My head goes underneath his arm. I don't go here. We're underneath his waist. If he goes to sprawl, I'm not underneath him. And as a result, we get a nice turn down to the mat. Let's have a look at how it would be in a competition setting. We start off. I come out. I read my opponent. Okay, he's lefty. This is Kenkiyotsu. Mentally, I'm thinking, what are my Kenkiyotsu attacks? He's bent over. It's going to be hard for me to get a lapel. He's bent over. So I go here. If he's an idiot, doesn't connect, snap down. If he's smart and he connects, I dance. Now I go straight in and Kuchiki Daoshi for the takedown. Very simple, very effective way of scoring on a bent over opponent. Now we're starting to look at one of my favorite takedowns whenever we work with a gi, Kuchiki Daoshi, the knee pick, in particular the inside knee pick, which I think is particularly well suited to the gi game. In the previous move, my opponent took an exaggerated jigotai, or defensive stance, and as a result, gripping over the back of the shoulder was a very good option for us. Now he plays more upright, and as a result, back of the shoulder may not always be appropriate. Okay, my opponent can block me. So instead, we're going to go in and we're going to aim for the lapel. It's safe because we're Kenkiyotsu. As a result, we can go in and get our grip. Now, you guys know already from the rest of this video, I'm a big fan of movement once we get a grip. Don't get a grip. Don't be that guy that gets a grip and just goes stationary. Now he breaks my grip, takes my arm across, and I'm in trouble. Okay? Be the guy that gets a grip and starts moving your opponent with purpose. That's what you want to be, okay? So we come out towards our training partner. I identify, yep, this is a Kenkiyotsu situation. He's relatively upright, semi-crouch. From here, I get my grip. The second we get that grip, we're moving. I'm moving towards my training partner's center line. Now we're in perfect position to go through Kuchiki Daoshi, or knee pick, or the finish. So once again, I come out towards my training partner. From semi-crouch, I get my first grip. Now it's all about movement. Playing with the gi. From here, I go straight on through. My head goes underneath, my knee next to his knee. He goes to sprawl. It's so difficult. And as a result, we get a nice takedown for the finish. Let's make sure, guys, that our head position is correct. When I come in, my head goes here. So when he goes to sprawl, it's hard. If my head goes under his body and he sprawls, you get caught underneath his body weight. That's not what we're looking for. It's safe from a guillotine because he's holding your jacket. Okay? So once again, we start off. I go in, I get my grip. I go in, towards, drive, and cut him down. One more time. Kuchiki-do Ushi. Kenkyotsu situation. From here, forwards, and drive for the takedown. Now, as you guys probably figured out by now, I'm a big fan of Kuchiki-do Ushi, the knee pick, especially the inside knee pick. It's a very simple, very robust takedown. It doesn't take a lot of skill and gets great results. In my opinion, easier for most people to apply than a single leg, and gets faster finishes. So you're less vulnerable to counters as you apply the move. One of my favorite ways to get students thinking about Kuchiki-do Ushi is out of grip fighting situations. You're fighting for grips and you spontaneously go into the move. Here's one of my favorites. I've got a skilled opponent in front of me. And from here, I fake the hand tie-ups. He's trying to grab my lapels and I'm defending the lapels, okay? He wants a lapel, go. I bat it away. He wants a lapel, I bat it away, okay? Go. And there's my grip, okay? He wants a lapel, boom. He wants a lapel, boom. Grab. Now from here, I start pulling. I go in on my training partner's leg, and there we have Kuchiki-do Ushi. So we defend our lapels, and we use a snatching method, a jabbing method, to get to the back of the shoulder. He wants a lapel, boom. He wants a lapel, boom. And we use this to get our grip. I circle and pull. My knee goes next to his foot, and we're in perfect position to put him down. Another one, which I favor a lot. From here, he's right-handed. I want to get to my opponent's shoulders. So I play a trick. I give him a lapel. I put my hand on the outside. I switch my stance. I was right-handed. I switch my stance. I break the grip. From the grip break, I switch back and get my hand on. I pull, release, hand goes in. He goes to make grips on me. We're in perfect position to pull, expose my training partner's leg, and come in for the chop down. So many ways for us to work this move. I stand right, he's right. He gets a grip. I come in, lock up. I grip, switch, pull. I switch back, hands on, circle and pull. I start moving. There's what we're looking for. I come in, drive, and down we go to the mat. He stands Kenkyotsu. From here, he grips. I go in on my training partner. I snap the grip off. I put a hand on the wrist. He goes to yank out, gives me what I really wanted all along. As a result, we're able to go through and play. You can see that you're limited only by your imagination as to what kind of grips you can get. He goes through Kenkyotsu. I snap his grip off. I expose his shoulder. I release, he yanks out, but he leaves me the shoulder. And as a result, we're in perfect position to go on through. I leave it up to you to use your imagination to find ways to get to your opponent's shoulder or lapel. He comes in, gets a grip. I go in, I get a grip. I bring my hand down, peel his hand off. Okay, now from here, I bring my second hand up, pull, grip, and down. Okay, all of them just have in common all the grip fighting methods that we looked at earlier in this video. They're just extrapolations of what we saw. Ultimately, we're looking to create situations where I have a grip on him and he doesn't have much of a grip on me. That imbalance enables us to generate attacking position. Okay? Just use your imagination use the grip fighting methods that we saw earlier in this video, and you're going to find yourself taking a lot of people down with Kuchiki To-Oshi. Now, some of you may know that I'm not a big proponent of using Tani Otoshi, a fairly standard method of takedown in Judo and Jiu-Jitsu, whenever your head is in front of your opponent's body, okay? Here's what a basic Tani Otoshi is. If I have a grip, let's say mid-back, my opponent has a grip on me. Classically, Tani Otoshi is a takedown where I have grips on him and I get side on to my training partner and I reach for his far leg, and from him, we put him down to the mat. Done well, it's a highly effective takedown. Done badly, it's a guaranteed trip to the hospital for this guy, okay? Why? Stand with wide base. Side on. Get a grip. Okay. If I start with my foot far in front of my training partner and I reach for his far foot and sit down, I will sit directly on the outside of my training partner's knee, and I will break his knee inwards. Many a man has ended up in the hospital with either a shattered knee or a shattered ankle out of this move, because people do it with no regard for safety. It's a beautiful takedown when it's done well. It's a horror show when it's done badly, okay? So strong base. If I just naively just reach for his far leg, boom, I sit right here on his knee, and as I reach, I break his knee, okay? I've seen so many people get their lives badly ruined by this move that I banned it in my academy. The only Tani Otoshi I allow is when your head is behind your opponent's back. Now, Tani Otoshi will be 100% safe because you're behind your opponent. And as a result, when we hit the Tani Otoshi action, it's completely safe. There's no danger of sitting on your training partner's knee. So my rule with Tani Otoshi is, if you're behind your opponent, in particular if your head is behind your opponent, you're allowed to do Tani Otoshi. But if your head's in front of his chest, I don't allow it. But there is one exception to this. If I lift my training partner's knee off the mat and I hit Tani Otoshi, there's no danger because his knee's not trapped on the floor. The only time there's danger is when his knee is trapped on the floor and I sit on it. But if his knee is not on the floor and I block, it's 100% safe. So what I'll often do is combine Kuchiki To-Oshi with Tani Otoshi. Looks like this. From here, I get my grip. He gets a grip on me. From here, I start pulling. I pick up my training partner's leg. My head goes to the outside. I run and I come up. Now, I just take my foot and I go past his foot, and it's 100% safe because his knee is off the floor. Now, my advice to you guys is, drilling this, do this one with people you trust. Don't do this with someone who is wild and reckless or naive, because you could end up in hospital just because people just do the move without taking the foot off the floor. They get forgetful, when they get excited when it goes live and no control. Do this one with your more experienced training partners who know what they're doing, okay? People you trust. And done like this, it's very safe and very effective. So once again, we start off. We go in, I get my initial grip. I pull, I hit, and I run. I don't even go to my knees. Now, I just reach out for his leg with my leg. It's safe because his knee's not on the mat. Sorry, his foot's not on the mat. If the foot was on the mat and I sat, I could break his knee. But when the knee's not on the mat, there's nothing stopping me now, just reaching out and putting him down. And this is a great way to take out your opponent's support leg in a safe and effective fashion by combining a safe version of Tani Otoshi with Kuchiki To-Oshi. So once again, we're out here, I grip. He puts hands on me, I pull. I come through, I pick up my training partner's leg, and put him straight down to the mat. Okay, one more time. We come out to make grips. Pull, Kuchiki To-Oshi, block, and down to the mat we go. Perfectly safe if it's done well. A disaster if it's done poorly.